If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 141, The Current State of Uzumaki. Skilled in genjutsu and various blood-related secret techniques. This is the characteristic of the Shinoite clan. Although their abilities are very unique compared to the Kamaizuru clan, precisely because they are too unique, these abilities are basically unusable in ordinary production and daily life. This is really a headache. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his forehead. The Shinoite clan must be properly settled. After all, they have already taken out loans from Uzumaki. If they cannot repay the money later, Kakuzu will put a knife to their necks and force them to repay. That is the kind of person he is, a man who loves money more than life itself. So, for the stability of the country, this matter must be resolved. The only solution is to establish a police system, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. At the same time, have the Shinoite clan join the interrogation department. They are quite suitable for public service. Due to their long-term survival in Hell Valley, the Shinoite clan members have learned the fine virtue of enduring hardship. Overtime probably won't be a problem for them. Moreover, because Uzumaki population is too small, a complete domestic security system has not yet been established. Usually, Uzunin temporarily take on these roles. After all, in preparation for the Second Shinobi World War, all shinobi have been assigned by Uzumaki Jun to the military for training. Because no one knows exactly when the Second Shinobi World War will break out. When Uzumaki survived, the future of the shinobi world had already begun to change. Especially since he also has the alias of Uchiha Shin, the Akatsuki organization was established more than 10 years earlier than it should have been. No matter what unexpected events occur in the future, Uzumaki Jun won't find it strange. As for the interrogation department, it has always been staffed by members of the Uzumaki clan, so everyone knows the interrogation method: just one word, beat. Beat them until they talk. However, these methods are nothing to shinobi. Whether it's beatings, feeding them aphrodisiac-laced souse, or smearing honey on ants, they probably won't even blink. Shinobi are just that tough. So, if the Shinoite clan joins, won't it also signify that Uzumaki has entered a civilized society? At the very least, interrogations won't rely on torture anymore. Also, the police force must include some ordinary people. Uzumaki Jun leaned back in his chair, frowning in thought. If it's all shinobi, it will definitely hinder future development. After all, everything he is doing now is aimed at bridging the class divide between shinobi and ordinary people, thereby liberating productivity. Otherwise, wouldn't he just be retreading the same path as Hashirama and Naruto? Maybe with him, a cheater, holding things together, peace in the shinobi world can be achieved. But what if he travels through the multiverse? Wouldn't the shinobi world fall into chaos again? Host, stop dreaming. You can't travel anywhere except with me. Uzumaki Jun directly ignored the system's words. From the moment he elevated the status of ordinary people and weakened the shinobi's influence in killing, Uzumaki had already become an enemy of the entire shinobi world. After all, this world is still dominated by shinobi. So, Uzumaki must become stronger than any other country. Only when others see that they cannot win will these nations' shinobi begin to adapt to the tide of reform. And the prisoners will become the backbone of reform in the major shinobi nations. Have all the prisoners been ransomed back? Uzumaki Jun asked Uzumaki Hibiki, who was recording his words beside him. How is the ideological and moral education going? Based on the reports, the results are quite good, Uzumaki Hibiki put down his pen and said. Now, those shinobi tremble at the sight of a pen. And they have learned to yield to others, respect the elderly, and care for the young. At this point, Uzumaki Hibiki felt a headache coming on. In this era, learning such things. By the time they return, they might as well prepare for retirement. After all, this is a life and death era. No one knows if the civilians they spare will stab them in the back. However. Good, very good. Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction. Too few people are learning advanced knowledge. With so few, how can they lead ordinary people in overthrowing the ruling class and achieving revolutionary victory? Their village leader could probably wipe them all out with a single jutsu. By the way, the research institute sent word today that the first amphibious sea airship has been completed, Uzumaki Hibiki said to Uzumaki Jun. The water trial will be conducted this afternoon. It's done. Uzumaki Jun was stunned. He didn't expect it to be completed so quickly. Although the main technology had already been cracked, the rest was just integrating these technologies. And this ship is only a wooden amphibious vessel. The technical requirements aren't very high, just replacing the power source with chakra. Although Uzumaki Jun also hopes to build a metal fleet, Uzumaki has no mines. This is also a shortcoming of Uzumaki. It doesn't have the vast resources of the Land of Fire. So, we must seize enough territory during the Second Shinobi World War. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his temples in frustration. But if the land is too vast, Uzumaki population won't be enough, which could instead plant hidden dangers. There are so many things to prepare for. Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly. For now, he has no other choice but to take things one step at a time. Let's go see the Shinobi World's first amphibious sea airship. Yes. Uzumaki Hibiki replied respectfully. Early in the year 30 of the Konoha calendar, after both Uegakure and Kumegakure were attacked by a mysterious organization, the entire Shinobi world was on edge. Especially the villages with tailed beasts, they tightened security around their jinchuriki. Although, according to intelligence from above, this group of mysterious people's goal does not seem to be the tailed beasts but rather the collection of legendary tools. However, the Manjiki Sharingan remains a nightmare for them. After all, back in the day, Uchiha Madara dominated an era, riding Kurama as if it were a pet. This is something no shinobi village or tailed beast wants to remember. So, the Manjiki must die. However, they have no way to deal with it because these mysterious people possess space-time ninjutsu, making them extremely difficult to capture. In fact, the 5 great shinobi villages don't even know the true identities of these mysterious people. They only know that one of them has the Manjiki. Of course, the truth remains unknown. Whether that mysterious person is from Konoha's Uchiha clan, no one knows. The jinchuriki must be implemented as soon as possible. Hiruzen Sarutobi said helplessly to Dan's. Lady Mito is old and can no longer suppress Kurama. If those mysterious people attack Konoha, it would be disastrous. Yes. Dan's frowned and nodded. The process has already begun, but there is still no progress. Keep trying. Hiruzen Sarutobi said gloomily. I hope the other villages also don't. Ah. Chapter 142. At the end of the year 31 in the Konoha calendar, the entire shinobi world began to be enveloped in a tense atmosphere. Especially in the Land of Rain. Hands of the Salamander had something he really wanted to say, especially after seeing frequent activities of shinobi from Konoha, Suna, and Iwa within the Land of Rain. He wanted to curse even more. What exactly were they trying to do? Did they think they could take advantage of the Land of Rain during its civil war? Over the past few days, the Omegakure shinobi under his command had captured many spies from other villages. Did they not fear him, the demigod of the shinobi world? After the death of the god of shinobi and his younger brother, who in the shinobi world could still stand against him? Of course, that brat from Uzumaki didn't count. He hadn't grown up yet. Maybe by the time he was 17 or 18, he might surpass him, but definitely not now. Hands of the Salamander, the demigod of the shinobi world, was full of confidence because he was at his peak and feared no one. The problem was that the rulers of the Land of Rain were all idiots. Despite being such a small country, they were constantly embroiled in civil war, leaving the people in misery. Countless lives were lost every year due to the war, causing the population to decline sharply and the military strength to weaken. Otherwise, under his leadership, Omegakure would have long become the 6th great shinobi village. Deploy our shinobi across all regions, Hans said coldly, wearing his mask. Monitor everyone entering and leaving the Land of Rain to prevent infiltration by spies from other villages. Yes. The Omegakure shinobi beside him responded respectfully. Peace. Hans gazed at the Land of Rain, a country perpetually shrouded in rain. There was no peace here. From the moment he was born until now, it had always been torn apart by internal strife. When he was young, a group of detestable researchers in white lab coats implanted the venom sac of a poisonous black salamander into his body. The excruciating pain he endured as a child ultimately forged his title as the demigod of the shinobi world. But in the end, he killed them all. Because of this venom sac, he had lived a life of solitude. The shinobi world. Hans said with icy eyes. There is no such thing as peace. Selfishness and treachery were the norms of the shinobi world. Only the dead were granted mercy. The Land of Rain was no different. Whether you were an adult or a child, the moment you were born, your fate was already sealed, a future of endless darkness. Uzumaki. The topic of today's meeting is the Second Shinobi World War, Uzumaki Jun said solemnly. The shinobi world is becoming unstable again. When Konoha, Suna, and Iwa began gathering forces in the Land of Rain, Jun knew the Second Shinobi World War was about to break out. What infuriated him was how shameless these three villages were, using another country as their battlefield. No wonder Hans was furious. Jun couldn't help but criticize such despicable behavior. Did they think the lives and land of another country were worthless? Sigh. The increasingly frail elder sighed in distress. Another war. He had lived through countless wars in his lifetime, and now, in his old age, he feared them. Moreover, after years of dedicating himself to scientific research and with his body weakening, his combat abilities had declined significantly. But what worried him most was what would happen to the research institute after their generation was gone. This was Uzumaki hope. Their inventions over the years had shown them a different path, one that could make Uzumaki even stronger. Uzumaki affiliated elementary school still hasn't recruited a single student for its science program, the elder said bitterly, looking at Jun. Those who fail to become shinobi simply give up. No one wants to become a scholar. If this continues, the research institute will have to close down. Jun also found this issue frustrating. The shinobi world's mainstream path was still that of a shinobi. Deep-rooted beliefs weren't easily changed, so this couldn't be rushed. They had to gradually shift perceptions. Besides, science was something inherently unscientific. A single genius could lead to a sudden leap in technological progress. I'll think of a solution, Jun said helplessly. During this war, Uzumaki will continue to take in refugees. Some of them might be interested in science. For now, he needed to reassure the elders. Despite their age, they were still working tirelessly for Uzumaki. Their day and night dedication to research showed how much they cared for the village. This time, we must declare Uzumaki's neutrality, Jun said firmly. No matter which village seeks an alliance, we must refuse. This point had to be made absolutely clear. The Uzumaki clan's unique physique made them a target. If they mishandled this, Uzumaki could be dragged into endless wars. Only by maintaining strict neutrality and refusing to take sides could they reassure the other villages. An alliance wasn't suitable for Uzumaki at this stage. Only when they grew strong enough to rival the five great nations could they consider forming alliances, and at that point, it would be an alliance led by Uzumaki. For now, they had to lay low. Understood, the clan head said. I'll handle it. Diplomatic matters had always been his responsibility. Especially Konoha, Jun warned with a frown. If they come seeking an alliance, ignore them. Konoha faced immense pressure during the Second and Third Wars. Hadn't Hiruzen Sarutobi already begun loosening restrictions on the Uchiha clan, allowing them to leave the village? It was because they lacked manpower. So they had to be extra cautious if Konoha came trying to appeal to their shared history and bonds. An alliance with Konoha now would only lead to disaster. Gato, prepare supplies in advance, Jun said, looking at the slightly overweight man beside him. And take care of your health. Understood, Gato nodded. But the merchants in Uzumaki. Merchants were always the first to sense trouble. Many had already started leaving due to the unrest in the shinobi world. As for his health. So what if he was a little fat? No big deal. Jun rubbed his temples in frustration. He couldn't force foreign merchants to stay and share Uzumaki's fate. As long as they weren't spies, he was satisfied. But a mass exodus of merchants could cause panic among the citizens. Send people to reassure the public, Jun said after a moment of thought. If merchants selling essential goods leave, take over their shops and inventory. Daily necessities like food and salt couldn't be allowed to run short. Import what we need to keep supplies steady. For now, this was the only way to stabilize the country before planning their next move. Understood, Gato nodded. If anyone refuses to cooperate. His eyes hardened. He knew how to handle business matters, but no matter what, he couldn't tarnish Uzumaki's reputation. After all, foreign merchants were still important. Everyone except Kakuzu, you may leave and begin preparations, Jun said, glancing at the masked man. Maintaining domestic stability is our top priority. Understood. Once everyone had left. Chapter 143, Please Call Me. Ever since Uzumaki Jun mentioned last time that there would be a big deal when the war came, Kakuzu had been looking forward to it. After all, a deal that could be called big by the leader of a country was definitely not something worth just 1 or 2 billion. It had to be at least over 10 billion to be considered big. So, what are you taking these out for? Kakuzu frowned as he watched Uzumaki Jun put on the black cloak with red clouds again. He had seen this outfit before, but what was the situation now? Did he need to dress formally for this business negotiation? Ah, we need to hide our identities, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly as he summoned another cloak. Uzashio can't afford to be too reckless right now. Otherwise, the slightest misstep could drag us into the conflicts between the 5 great shinobi villages. This was something Uzumaki Jun had always tried to avoid. After all, Uzashio was still developing. If too many people died because of the war, it would take even longer for Uzashio to grow stronger. There were still too few people. So what identity are we using this time? Kakuzu asked, frowning. Indeed, hiding their identities was necessary. After all, his own identity was also something that couldn't be exposed. He, Kakuzu, was a man who had fought against the first Hokage. If he were recognized, it would be dangerous. Akatsuki, Uzumaki Jun declared righteously. The mysterious organization we joined last time. An organization fighting for peace in the shinobi world. Just from its name, you can tell. Akatsuki means bringing light and hope to the shinobi world. The founder of Akatsuki wanted to build a bridge of hope toward world peace through communication between people. Uzumaki Jun said with a regretful expression, he just died a bit too early. To think there was such a person in the shinobi world. Kakuzu was shocked and sighed. I've roamed the shinobi world for decades and never heard of him. What a pity. In this era of endless war, there was actually someone who wanted to point out a path of light for this era. What a remarkable person. Just like Hashirama Senju, another great figure who fought for peace in the shinobi world. Although he had once assassinated Hashirama Senju, he still greatly admired his ideals of peace. It was just that in the end, the shinobi world remained unchanged. Yes, Uzumaki Jun nodded. Truly remarkable. It was just that the founder hadn't been born yet. The original founder of Akatsuki was Nagato, right? The one who died early. He wasn't wrong about that. But believe in us. We will definitely carve out a path full of hope for this twisted shinobi world. Uzumaki Jun held 2 pairs of colored contact lenses in his hand as he spoke. A path of democratic republicanism, a shinobi-style socialist road with unique characteristics. As a transmigrator who had received 9 years of compulsory education and grown up under the influence of revolutionary ideals, along with his system, he still had great hope. However, these eyes of yours. Kakuzu frowned thoughtfully after seeing Uzumaki Jun put on the contacts. I think I've seen them somewhere before. You probably saw them in ancient records, Uzumaki Jun said, blinking to adjust to the slight discomfort of wearing the contacts. Because these are the legendary Rinnegan. This time, he couldn't play the role of Uchiha Shin. After all, that alias had already been handed over to Konoha. This. Hearing Uzumaki Jun's words, Kakuzu's pupils shrank in disbelief. The Rinnegan. These were the legendary eyes. You've seen them. I have, Uzumaki Jun nodded. I almost inherited those eyes last time. He had almost been scared to death by Madara. By the way, do you want a pair? It was safer to disguise everything, from hair to eyes. Since he was now 11 years old and had grown taller, no one should recognize him. After all, few would think that Uchiha Shin was actually an 8-year-old child who was still growing. The Rinnegan. Kakuzu frowned and thought for a moment. He could tell Uzumaki Jun didn't want to discuss the Rinnegan further, so he didn't press the matter and simply said, sure. However, having too many Rinnegan would seem too fake. Uzumaki Jun shook his head. This time, we're going for a deal, not to make headlines in the shinobi world. If 2 pairs of Rinnegan appeared at the same time, the 5 great shinobi villages would set aside their hatred and grievances. For their own interests, they would stop the war and unite to figure out what was going on. After all, these eyes were far too intimidating. True, Kakuzu nodded. In that case, anything will do. Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment and then exchanged for a pair of Toad Sage Mode contacts for Kakuzu. It was just to conceal their real identities, so anything would work. As for himself, He needed to intimidate the other parties so they wouldn't act recklessly. After all, there were plenty of shinobi who moonlighted as bandits. To avoid unnecessary trouble, a strong identity was necessary. Thus, from this moment on, please call me. Uzumaki Jun put on the three-tomo Rinnegan mask worn by Tobi during the Fourth War and said calmly, "Pain of the Deva Path. The god who brings hope to the shinobi world. Uzashio." The atmosphere of war was always the most contagious. So when merchants began leaving and Uzashio's police force strengthened security, the civilians of Uzashio knew something was about to happen. "Shota, do you think something's going to happen recently?" a young man asked his companion. "The mood feels a bit off." "Yeah, something's not right," Shota frowned. "Many shops in the commercial district have closed. It seems like they've left Uzashio." "Why would they leave?" Yuma asked in confusion. "Isn't Uzashio a great place?" Uzashio was the best place he had ever lived. No hunger, no cold, and the shinobi didn't bully them for no reason. You could say there was no better place in the shinobi world than Uzashio. "I'm not sure either," Shota shook his head. But when he saw someone approaching, he said, "Natsudo's off work. We can ask him." Last time, when the police force was recruiting, Natsudo was lucky enough to be selected. So in their circle, Natsudo was quite famous. Whenever there were policies or plans in Uzashio they didn't understand, they would ask Natsudo. And Natsudo was a helpful person who never got annoyed by their questions and always patiently explained things to them. "Natsudo," Yuma also saw him and quickly waved. "Over here." A short-haired young man, who had been frowning and deep in thought, heard someone call him and snapped out of it. When he saw who it was, he smiled. Yuma and Shota. He ran over to them. "Natsudo," Yuma was impatient and got straight to the point. "Is something going to happen in Uzashio soon?" "You?" Natsudo saw Shota also looking at him curiously and hesitated for a moment before saying, "You noticed it too?" "Yeah." Yuma nodded quickly. "The mood has been a bit off these past few days. Especially in the commercial district, so many people have left." "We." "Shut up." But seeing Natsudo fall silent, Shota quickly stopped Yuma from asking further. "What?" Yuma was unhappy at being interrupted and snapped. But Shota ignored him and apologized to Natsudo. "Sorry. If it's confidential, you don't have to tell us. We don't want to get you in trouble." "Oh, Yuma suddenly realized what was going on and said apologetically, "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's fine," Natsudo shook his head and smiled. "It's not really a secret anyway. You'll find out in a few days. And that is, war is about to start again." Chapter 144, The Rinnegan. "Damn it." Hanzo looked at the intelligence report from below. Konoha, Suna, and Iwa had ignored his warnings and continued to increase troops within the Land of Rain's borders. He was furious inside. What exactly do they want to do? Did they see the Land of Rain in a period of war and plan to join forces to divide the Land of Rain? Just like how the four great villages joined forces to divide the Land of Whirlpools back then? But when attacking the Land of Whirlpools, it was only Kiri that went. Now for the Land of Rain, three great villages are attacking together? What the hell? They think too highly of him, the demigod of the shinobi world. Although he was confident he could take on any single cage from the five great villages, if three cages joined forces, he would be in danger. Moreover, the Land of Rain's overall national power was still too weak. But if he did nothing about the three great villages truly joining forces to divide the Land of Rain, how could he, the demigod of the shinobi world, continue to operate? How could he lead his men after this? Send someone to ask the Hokage, Tsuchikage, and Kazekage. Hanzo frowned and said sternly. Ask them exactly what they want to do in the Land of Rain. To gather so many troops in the Land of Rain for no reason without even consulting him, the leader of Omegakure. Did they really think his title of demigod of the shinobi world was just for show? If they fought, he would see what ability they had to invade the Land of Rain. As long as the Land of Rain didn't suddenly change its weather, he, Hanzo of the Salamander, would be the shinobi god within the Land of Rain. Suddenly, Lord Hanzo, two strangely dressed individuals have entered the Land of Rain. An Omegakure ninja walked in and knelt on one knee, reporting respectfully. They match the descriptions of the mysterious individuals reported by Uegakure and Kumegakure. What did you say? Hanzo was stunned when he heard the report. What are they doing here? The Land of Rain doesn't have any legendary tools. The Land of Rain is still the same as always. Kakuzu looked at the people around him, men, women, old, and young, all appearing starved, malnourished, and dressed in rags. He sighed. This is the common sight in the shinobi world. The peaceful and prosperous scene of the Land of Whirlpools was something he had never seen in all his years. Ruled by law, this was the governing philosophy of the Land of Whirlpools. It restrained not only ordinary citizens but also all shinobi. To govern a country in this way was something that had never appeared in the shinobi world for so many years. After all, in this world, the power of shinobi was paramount. Any attempt to lower their status would inevitably lead to unrest in that country. Only a country like this, always ruled by a single clan, could hope to make such changes. The Land of Whirlpools is still better. Kakuzu said with emotion. That can't be helped. Uzumaki Jun shook his head. Due to prolonged war in the Land of Rain, adult men and even underage boys have been taken away to participate in battles. So this country is quite pitiful. Why did Nagato want to establish the Akatsuki back then? Wasn't it to quell the internal strife in the Land of Rain and bring some peace to the country? But who would have thought? He died too early. However, even though Nagato was deceived by Madara and Zetsu, didn't he manage the Land of Rain quite well after killing Hanzo? He was even worshipped as a god by the people of the Land of Rain, and Konan was called an angel. The people of other villages don't live so miserably. Uzumaki Jun averted his gaze from the refugees with their vacant, tragic eyes. As a young man from the 21st century, even though he had lived in the shinobi world for so long, seeing this scene still made him uncomfortable. It wasn't that he was being overly compassionate, but a sense of pity had always remained in his heart. But right now, he couldn't do anything to change it. He could only ignore it. Sigh. He sighed inwardly. Even if the Land of Whirlpools accepted refugees, it couldn't take in all the citizens of the Land of Rain. The path to a harmonious society was long and arduous. Can't bear it. Kakuzu seemed to see through Uzumaki Jun's thoughts and sneered. Those in power don't need compassion. Even if they have it, it should only be for the sake of the Land of Whirlpools. Kakuzu pointed at the refugees below. Perhaps the people you pity now will become our enemies in the future. War was always cruel. I know. Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly. Wasn't he just lamenting that he still had compassion despite everything? After being a shinobi for so many years, he had killed plenty of people. He was just reflecting on how he hadn't lost himself despite being a transmigrator with a system, and how he hadn't looked down on the native inhabitants. He had always been striving for a harmonious society. Let's go. Kakuzu, wearing a frog mask, said coldly. I don't know what business there is to discuss in this poor place. Big deals should be made with the 5 great villages. This is just to build our reputation first. Uzumaki Jun shrugged, pushing aside his unrelated thoughts. Working with the 5 great villages is too dangerous. The slightest mistake could expose us. Even though he knew the Flying Thunder God technique, there was no guarantee something unexpected wouldn't happen. It was better to take things step by step. Once the Infinite Gauntlet gained fame, they could freely sell it to the 5 great villages. Besides, business was only one aspect of this trip. The other part was the real focus, which was... They're here. Suddenly, Uzumaki Jun's tone turned icy. A big client has arrived. Urgent intelligence from the front lines. Hiruzen Sarutobi held a smoking pipe in his right hand and looked at the council members present. He frowned. Traces of a mysterious organization have appeared in the Land of Rain. And this time, it doesn't seem to be the same 2 individuals as before. Hiruzen had the shinobi beside him distribute the intelligence to those below. I called you here to ask what preparations Konoha should make next. He had an uneasy feeling about this. War is already unavoidable. Koharu Yudin glanced at the intelligence report. Right now, no unexpected incidents can be allowed. Everything must prioritize preparations for war. This battle, shifting the battlefield to the Land of Rain, was her arrangement. After all, no one wanted their own country to become a battlefield. The Land of Rain was just right, bordering 3 great villages. This way, they could keep their losses to a minimum. At the same time, due to internal strife, the Land of Rain's national power was much weaker than before, posing no threat to Konoha. Ha! Hiruzen smiled bitterly and shook his head. That might not be possible. The ones who appeared this time aren't the same two as before. One has toad-like pupils, and the other possesses the legendary Rinnegan of the shinobi world. This was why he had called an emergency meeting. Otherwise, who would care about the Land of Rain's fate? At most, after the Land of Rain was destroyed, they would mourn it and take in some of its refugees. The Rinnegan. Everyone present stared at Hiruzen in shock. You're not joking, are you? Hiruzen shook his head, took a puff of his pipe, and said, it hasn't been confirmed yet. It just matches the descriptions in ancient texts. Hearing this, the council members inwardly sighed in relief. Maybe it was just a resemblance? After all, it was only a legend. Should I investigate? Danzo touched the bandages covering his right eye and asked with a frown. The Rinnegan is also an important matter for Konoha. The Rinnegan. The mere thought made his heart burn. If he could obtain it, he would become the next shinobi god, no, even surpass the shinobi god. After all, even Lord Hashirama didn't have the Rinnegan. However, Hiruzen gave Danzo a deep look, propped his chin on his hands, and pondered for a moment. It's not the right time yet. We still don't know their true objectives. Acting rashly might lead to unexpected consequences. Or perhaps, did the Land of Rain possess a legendary tool? And what exactly were these mysterious people collecting the legendary tools for? All of this needed to be clarified. And then there was the Uchiha clan. Keep an eye on the Uchiha's movements during this time. Hiruzen frowned at Danzo. We must find out exactly who that mysterious individual with the Manjiki is. The Uchiha, the Sharingan, the Manjiki. He sighed inwardly. Danzo had been getting rather close to the Uchiha lately. Chapter 145, I fought against the god of shinobi. This. Hanzo the salamander looked at the pair of eyes revealed behind the spiral mask, his pupils contracting instantly as he spoke in disbelief, the Rinnegan. A pair of eyes that existed only in legends. Here already. Uzumaki Jun calmly observed Hanzo the salamander, who wore a breathing mask. At this moment, Hanzo was at the peak of his strength, yet also on the verge of entering old age. After the Second Shinobi World War, he would lose his willpower due to aging, betray his allies, and eventually die at the hands of Nagato. But right now, he was still the demigod of the shinobi world. Hanzo was not surprised that these mysterious individuals knew his title, as his reputation had long spread throughout the shinobi world. Especially within the Land of Rain, Hanzo the salamander feared no one, not even the legendary Hashirama Senju or Madara Uchiha. He was confident he could fight them on equal footing. In the Land of Rain, Hanzo the salamander had his own buffs. What are you doing here? Hanzo frowned and said coldly, the Land of Rain does not welcome those who hide their faces. Tch. Kakuzu scoffed disdainfully at Hanzo's words. And you dare call yourself the demigod of shinobi? I forgot, back in the day, I fought a young man who was called. Kakuzu furrowed his brow as if trying to recall something, then said indifferently, ah, right. I think he was called the god of shinobi. Hearing the words of the toad-eyed masked man, Hanzo's pupils shrank instantly as he stared at Kakuzu in disbelief. This man had fought against Hashirama Senju and lived to this day? If what he said was true. Hanzo quickly suppressed his inner contempt. Perhaps the Land of Rain was in danger this time. Beside them, Uzumaki Jun did not interrupt Kakuzu's boastful words. Those who knew him understood. Kakuzu wasn't lying. He really had fought Hashirama Senju and survived. As for how the fight went, was that the point? Just like back when Jun only had the strength of a jonin, hadn't he also claimed he was evenly matched with Hashirama Senju? This was just a form of professional hype, perfectly normal. And the effect was clearly great. Hanzo was completely stunned. What exactly do you want in the Land of Rain? Hanzo stared coldly at the two masked figures. The Land of Rain has no legendary tools you'd want to collect. Tools? Uzumaki Jun was momentarily stunned before realizing. We're not here to collect tools this time. He had almost forgotten. The shinobi world believed they were collecting the Six Paths tools. How this rumor had spread, Jun had no idea. He remembered that whenever he and Zetsu went on missions, they never took anything extra. So how did the story about them stealing legendary tools come about? We're here to make a deal with the Land of Rain. A deal? Hearing the words of the masked man with the Rinnegan, Hanzo frowned. The Land of Rain has no interest in making deals with those who hide their faces. If you want to negotiate, then take off your masks first. However, Uzumaki Jun wasn't intimidated at all. His country was already being used as a battlefield by others, yet he still pretended to be tough. If that was the case, he might as well just keep hiding inside the Land of Rain forever. So, in that case, Uzumaki Jun said indifferently to Kakuzu, let's go talk to Konoha. I'm sure they'll be very interested. After all, it's a tool that could change the shinobi world. Humph. Kakuzu nodded faintly. Seeing the two ignore him and turn to leave, Hanzo panicked internally and quickly spoke up. What do you take the Land of Rain for? You think you can come and go as you please? Especially after hearing about some tool that could change the shinobi world. Had they discovered something from the legendary tools? If that were true, and if Konoha got their hands on it. Konoha was already strong enough. If they grew even stronger, then wouldn't they just unify the shinobi world? So, before things became clear, he had to stop them here. But do you wish to test the power of a god? Uzumaki Jun hovered in midair, looking down at Hanzo with an expressionless face. You will suffer divine punishment. Though he didn't possess the true gravitational powers of the Deva path, he could still fly. Lightweight rock technique, the ultimate tool for showing off. Hanzo was stunned for a moment before quickly snapping back to reality and summoning his salamander. He stared coldly at Uzumaki Jun. This is the Land of Rain. As the leader of Omegakure, Hanzo the salamander feared no one. Not the god of shinobi, nor those who had fought the god of shinobi. Tisk tisk. Kakuzu felt the timing was about right and said to Uzumaki Jun in the air, Deva, we're here to discuss business, not fight. Come down already. Looks like the demigod of shinobi wants to have a chat with me. A&D. Hanzo didn't speak again, merely retracting his salamander and coldly observing the two. It was best if they didn't fight. With the current unstable situation in the Land of Rain, he didn't want any more complications. Besides, he wanted to see what kind of tool these two had that could change the shinobi world. Especially the one with the Rinnegan. He actually called himself a god. Even someone as bold as Hanzo the salamander wouldn't dare call himself that. Deva? Ha! How ridiculous! Though for some reason, seeing the Rinnegan made him uneasy. Humph! Uzumaki Jun landed and snorted, saying nothing more. At this moment, he was a god, the Deva path. The best course of action was to remain silent and maintain his imposing presence. So, what we're offering is this. Kakuzu pulled out a glove and said indifferently, a tool that will change the shinobi world. As long as there was money to be made, morals meant nothing. After living so many years, he had long since discarded them. As for this glove in front of him, even he didn't know how to promote it. Was this thing even useful? One fire-style jutsu and it'd be destroyed. If it were the unaltered version, it might have some use, but this downgraded version. Not only was it weaker and of poorer quality, but it was a waste of money. Did Kakuzu seem like the kind of person who would spend money on such a thing? So it was better to sell it to someone else. As for its flaws. Sorry, but Akatsuki's goods are non-refundable. A&D. Hanzo stared at the glove with a look that said, are you kidding me? This piece of junk can change the shinobi world. Did they think Hanzo the salamander only knew how to poison people? So. Kakuzu reluctantly pulled out a card, thankful his mask hid his pained expression. Just insert this jutsu card, and you can. Water style, water wave. Instantly, a stream of water shot out from the center of the glove. Instant jutsu activation, no hand seals needed, Kakuzu said flatly. However. Are you mocking me? Hanzo raised an eyebrow, annoyed. This doesn't even have the power of a normal C-rank jutsu. What was the point? A water fight? And this thing was supposed to change the shinobi world? If that were the case, the shinobi world would be too easy to change. But Kakuzu inserted another card and said indifferently, anyone can use this, ordinary people or shinobi. Chapter 146, he comes from Konoha. Ordinary people can also use it. Hearing these words, Hanzo the salamander was shocked inside. If what the toad-masked man in front of him said was true, the ninja world could truly undergo a change. Do you know why ninjas hold such high status and can casually kill civilians? Isn't it because they possess chakra and ninjutsu? Once ordinary people also master ninjutsu, the result is obvious. The status of ninjas will be replaced, and in the end, they will disappear. I absolutely will not allow such a thing to appear. Hanzo summoned his giant salamander and said sharply, this thing will bring war to the ninja world. Although the power of this weapon is still very small now, what if in the future it? Do you know why weapons have changed so much now? Isn't it because of the long years of war? If this weapon follows the same path as ordinary weapons, its power will gradually increase. Ninjas and ordinary people will inevitably start a war. Because no one wants their lives controlled by others. However, tisk tisk. Kakuzu sneered, when has the ninja world ever been peaceful? This is ridiculous. For thousands of years, from the Warring States period to now, when has the ninja world ever truly been peaceful? And you say this will bring war to the ninja world? Stop joking. Even without this thing, ninjas will still fight and kill each other. Nothing will change. So, fearing future war is just an excuse. Do you want to fight? Kakuzu looked at Hanzo and said calmly, how naive. Not to mention whether they can win, just the fact that the kid next to him knows space-time ninjutsu means they are already in an unbeatable position. What's the point of fighting? It's just a waste of time. At most, they can sell to someone else. Right now is a time of war. There are plenty of places in the ninja world that want to buy weapons. Haven't you seen how well the hidden village of artisans sells kunao and shuriken? So, if you don't want to buy. Kakuzu shrugged and said lightly, excuse us, tisk tisk. With the three great villages surrounding the land of rain, who knows what will happen? Then, he turned to Uzumaki Jun, ready to leave. But upon hearing these words, Hanzo fell silent. The land of rain is currently in an unclear situation. If the three great villages truly surround the land of rain, the land of rain might really become history. So, Hanzo stopped his plan to attack and keep them there. Let's go, Kakuzu said to Uzumaki Jun. We'll try another village. Uzumaki Jun nodded and said lightly, okay. The surrounding space began to distort as the Flying Thunder God technique slowly activated. He didn't believe Hanzo would really be so stubborn. Even if he was, seeing their space-time ninjutsu would likely make him stop. Because attacking would just be a waste of effort. So, stop. Hanzo sighed and said, this weapon. How much does it cost? Land of Rain. When news of the mysterious organization's appearance spread, the three great villages watched cautiously. However, they secretly continued to gather troops near the Land of Rain. They didn't know why the mysterious organization appeared at this time, but those incredible Mangeki Sharingan and space-time ninjutsu were things ordinary ninjas didn't want to face. Especially the Hidden Stone Village. The Tsuchikage remembered that night. When the Hidden Stone Village was engulfed in flames. That Uchiha was really strong. So strong that even he, the Tsuchikage, didn't dare say he could win easily. So, without knowing the true purpose of the mysterious people, none of the 5 Kage dared act rashly. All the villages were watching. Especially the other three great villages. They didn't know if the Hidden Rain village really had the legendary weapon. So just one glove costs 10,000, Hanzo said, veins bulging on his forehead after hearing Kakuzu's price. He roared, and a ninjutsu card costs 100,000, not to mention you also have to buy a chakra battery. What the hell? He actually thought this thing would bring chaos to the ninja world? Forget the ninjutsu cards, just the chakra battery alone. After all his years in the ninja world, how had he never heard of it? A full set costs nearly 200,000, which is the price of an A-rank mission. How could ordinary people afford it? No choice, Kakuzu said helplessly. The research costs are high. This was no lie. Back then, to research this wireless glove, the elder kept coming to him for money. If they don't sell it at a high price now, how will they recover the costs? Of course, if you buy in bulk, we can give you a discount. Hearing this, Hanzo raised an eyebrow and asked lightly, how much of a discount? 9.98% off. Hanzo suddenly didn't want to talk anymore. This discount made him want to hit someone. Forget it, Hanzo looked up, his sharp eyes fixed on Kakuzu. He asked coldly, just answer me one question, and I'll buy at the original price. As for why he didn't look into the Rinnegan next to him, for some reason, seeing the Rinnegan gave Hanzo a sense of unease. What question? Kakuzu's eyes lit up. Who would want to give a discount if they didn't have to? Ask. And that is. Hanzo stared at Kakuzu and asked sharply, what is your organization's true goal? To maintain peace in the ninja world. Kakuzu answered without hesitation. He had just heard Uzumaki Jun say this morning that the Akatsuki was founded to show the ninja world a path of peace and light. So, he wasn't lying. However, Hanzo stared at Kakuzu, veins popping on his forehead. You're selling weapons, and you tell me it's to maintain peace in the ninja world? Do you think the demigod of the ninja world is an idiot? Why don't you say it's to improve the happiness index of the people? So. Humph. Hanzo sneered at Kakuzu. He didn't believe a single word. Ah. Kakuzu sighed helplessly. This time, he really wasn't lying. Because he had only joined this morning and heard it from Uzumaki Jun. Since you don't want to say, Hanzo didn't press further. He knew it wouldn't be so easy to get the core secrets of others. His real goal was, who is that person with the Mangeki Sharingan? This was what he really wanted to ask. Uchiha Shin. Kakuzu fell silent for a moment after hearing this, then sighed. He has already betrayed our organization. This alias was also explained to him by Uzumaki Jun. Hanzo looked at Kakuzu in disbelief. Betrayed already? Are you kidding me? Then is he from the Uchiha clan? Hanzo frowned and asked. However, no one knows his true identity, Kakuzu said helplessly. But he claims to come from Konoha. He joined us to find a way to achieve peace in the ninja world. I% number at. Hanzo was speechless. Chapter 147, Return my 6 paths tools. What the truth actually is does not matter at all. No one will care about it. As long as this news is beneficial to oneself, then there will be people who defend it, who turn this falsehood into truth, until everyone believes it. So, after Hanzo the salamander placed the order and paid the deposit, Uzumaki Jun left with Kakuzu. The matters that followed had nothing to do with them anymore. When the 3 great villages gathered large numbers of troops in the Land of Rain, there was no room for compromise between Hanzo the salamander and the 3 great villages. Whether the 3 great villages wanted to invade the Land of Rain or use it as a battlefield, all that remained between them was war. Only the final outcome would be whether Hanzo the salamander fought 1 against 3 or 3 against 1. So, once this lie was spoken, someone would turn it into truth. There was no need for Uzumaki Jun to worry about any of this. Moreover, he had prepared a big gift for Konoha. I wonder what Hiruzen Sarutobi will do then. Uzumaki Jun revealed a mischievous smile. Probably even trying to clear his name will be difficult. The peace ambassador of the shinobi world is not so easy to be. What? Onaki slammed his stone table hard with both hands. Ouch, that hurt a little, but he no longer cared about such trivial matters. Instead, he looked at the Iwanin kneeling on one knee before him with an expression of utter disbelief. Hanzo the salamander said that one-eyed Mangekyo is from Konoha, and has already betrayed their organization. Onaki muttered in complete disbelief, so now he's being hunted by their organization. This was all too unbelievable. Although they had originally planned to team up with Tsunagakuer to attack Konoha and drag down Konoha's economy, now had they all become the righteous side? The Akatsuki organization. Onaki frowned and asked the kneeling Jonin, do we know what they went to the Land of Rain to do? Only he and the Raikage knew that the 6 paths tools were nothing but a joke. Not yet. The Iwanin shook his head. The spies stationed in the Land of Rain have not uncovered any information. Hearing the Iwanin's words, Onaki fell into deep thought. What exactly was this Akatsuki organization trying to do? Did they go to Iwagakuer and the Land of Lightning just to exterminate clans? But what did the Kamaizuru clan and the Shinoite clan do to offend them? To resort to such ruthless measures? Continue to send more spies into the Land of Rain, Onaki said with a frown. Report immediately upon discovering any information. There was no turning back now. When Iwagakuer dispatched so many troops and prepared so many supplies, the war had already begun. If it ended just like that, wouldn't Iwagakuer suffer a huge loss? Even if he agreed, Konoha and Tsunagakuer probably wouldn't, because once war starts, there is no going back. At the same time, order Konoha to hand over that one-eyed Mangekyo Uchiha, Onaki said sternly and sharply. and return Iwagakure's 6 paths tools. Otherwise, Iwagakure will immediately declare war on Konoha. The one-eyed Mangekyo is from Konoha. When these words came from the mouth of the shinobi no kami, they spread like wildfire throughout the shinobi world. Damn Konoha, the Raikage roared angrily, bare-chested. How dare they deceive me like this? He recalled the scene of being toyed with by the Uchiha that day. Because he had taken a step back, the entire Hell Valley was destroyed, and the Shinoite clan was wiped out. Although he didn't care about destruction or annihilation, as the Raikage, he had failed to protect his country's territory and people. They deserve to die. The Raikage said sharply. Order the council to declare war on Konoha. If Konoha does not hand over the Mangekyo user and return the Land of Lightning's 6 paths tools, Kumigakure will formally declare war on Konoha. With the 3 great villages already gathering troops in the Land of Rain. Humph! The Raikage sneered. Konoha. Kirigakure. News from below says that the mysterious Mangekyo user who invaded Iwagakure and the Land of Lightning is actually from Konoha. The third Mizukage held the intelligence report and frowned as he looked at the people below. What should Kirigakure do? The intelligence may not be accurate, the Mizukage's assistant shook his head. Although the Mangekyo can only arise from the Uchiha clan, the disciples of the second Hokage would never allow them to awaken it. Everyone knew that for one clan to rise, it must step on the corpse of another. The Senju and Uchiha clans were once so glorious. The 2 clans that founded the first shinobi village, but they also blocked the path of other clans' advancement. For one clan to become a great clan, another great clan must fall. The Senju clan was impossible. No matter what, they were the clan of the first and second Hokage, the clan of the Hokage's teacher. So only the Uchiha remained. Kirigakure should not get involved in this mess, the Mizukage's assistant sighed. After all, we haven't recovered yet. The first war had left Kirigakure in such a state that they had to sell blood to survive. After hearing this, the Mizukage nodded in agreement. In that case, send someone to Konoha to condemn their actions and demand the return of Kirigakure's 6 paths tools. Kirigakure's Jinchuriki plan hadn't succeeded yet. Better not act recklessly. What exactly have you done? Just as Uzumaki Jun returned to Uzashiagakure and changed clothes, Zetsu appeared at this moment. Why have all the major villages suddenly declared war on Konoha and demanded the return of the 6 paths tools? Zetsu was aware of their actions but had no idea how things had escalated like this. They had only taken a trip to Iwagakure and the Land of Lightning, so how did the rumor spread that they had stolen legendary tools? As a millennia-old schemer, he knew about the tools of the unfilial son Hago Romo. There weren't that many, and most required someone of his mother's level to use. So, why was every village claiming Konoha had stolen their tools? Oh, you're here. Uzumaki Jun wasn't surprised by Zetsu's appearance, as he had already completed Madara's mission. As Madara's steward, Zetsu should naturally appear now to hear his report. The process doesn't matter. What matters is the result. Isn't this good now? Uzumaki Jun revealed a faint smile. The war is about to begin. I want a great war, not 4 great villages attacking Konoha. Zetsu looked at Uzumaki Jun speechlessly. What was the point of this, you wretched brat? Konoha won't be destroyed so easily. Zetsu said helplessly. And that pair of Rinnegan? Is it this one? He was very concerned about the Rinnegan that had been leaked. Although he had already guessed the truth in his heart, he still needed confirmation, because his mission could not afford even the slightest mistake. Oh, you mean this? Uzumaki Jun took out the Rinnegan-colored contact lens. Still 1 million per piece. Want one? After investigating Uzashiagakure for so long, he still hadn't figured out where these things came from. Zetsu said helplessly, I will report to Lord Madara. Then he sank into the ground. Meanwhile, Uzumaki Jun, seeing that Zetsu had left, also fell into thought. He knew Konoha wouldn't be destroyed so easily. Hiruzen Sarutobi was probably panicking right now. Panicking over who to sacrifice to quell this war. But Uzumaki Jun wouldn't let the war end so easily. If the war didn't start, who would buy his infinite gauntlets? Chapter 148, What must be abandoned shall be abandoned. Konoha. Emergency meeting. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a worried puff from his smoking pipe as he looked at the Konoha Elder Council present. He said anxiously, you have all read the intelligence reports. What should we do now? 3 great ninja villages have actually declared war on Konoha? And they demand Konoha return the 6 paths tools? Just what is going on? As Konoha's highest leader, he didn't even know Konoha had so many 6 paths tools hidden away. Or rather, why is it that among the 5 great villages, only Konoha has never seen them? Could it be that Konoha also has legendary tools hidden somewhere, just that they haven't discovered them yet? These 4 great villages are going too far. Udadan Kohara said angrily. That person from the Akatsuki organization is definitely doing this on purpose. However, everyone present could only smile bitterly and shake their heads. Of course they all knew this. Even the Tsuchikage and Reikage understood this clearly in their hearts. So why did they still point fingers at Konoha? It all comes down to benefits. Danzo, have you investigated whose Manjiki Sharingan that was from the Uchiha clan recently? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned as he looked at Danzo, who was deep in thought. He asked, Uchiha Shin. Have you found any information on this name? No. Danzo shook his head. Perhaps that Manjiki user isn't even an Uchiha. Yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face showed disappointment. He was disappointed not only in Danzo's lack of findings, but also in how his old friend had changed. In the past, he would never say things like perhaps not or maybe. This time he actually. The Uchiha clan. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed as he took another puff. What should Konoha do now? This is 3 great villages attacking Konoha. One misstep and Konoha could be finished. Even though the first and second Hokage left them such a strong foundation, it still can't withstand 3 great villages. They are doing this on purpose, Midokado Homura said with a frown. They want to slow Konoha's progress in this war. Otherwise, why would Hanzo of the Salamander immediately believe it was Konoha's doing as soon as those mysterious people said so? Isn't it precisely because Konoha is too powerful? What Konoha faces now isn't about how to make the other villages believe us, Midokado Homura narrowed his eyes. It's about preparing to resist the war from 3 great villages. Because you can never wake someone who is pretending to sleep. After those mysterious people suddenly appeared and said those things, how could Hanzo and the others believe it so easily? It's simply because they needed an excuse. But how do we resist this? Sarutobi Hiruzen said worriedly. Even if we succeed in the end, Konoha will likely suffer heavy losses. These aren't just small fries. They are 3 great villages. Alliances. Midokado Homura said seriously. If 3 great villages can form a temporary alliance, then we can also seek allies. Only then can Konoha share the losses with others. Moreover, the alliance between the 3 great villages won't last long. Hearing Midokado Homura's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes. He understood what his old comrade meant. Uzushiagakuer. Have Konoha find more allies to jointly resist the other villages. I will go ask Lady Mito about this later. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with narrowed eyes before turning to Danzo. You also keep an eye on the Uchiha clan's movements recently. And don't get too close to them. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, Danzo trembled slightly. He narrowed his eyes and nodded. I understand. His old friend's meaning was, what must be abandoned shall be abandoned. It was almost time for Uzushiagakure's festival. Uzumaki Jun looked at the reports submitted from below, asking how this year's festival should be handled. Every year near the end of the year, the Uzumaki clan would hold a festival celebration. On one hand, it was to worship the Uzumaki clan's millennia-old belief, the Shinigami. On the other hand, it was to pray for favorable weather in the coming year. Because in the past, Uzushiagakure was just a small country, isolated in a remote corner with almost no external contact except with Konoha. Most supplies were purchased from Konoha or the Land of Fire. The people's lives weren't exactly wealthy, but with fishing from the sea, they wouldn't starve. However, not everyone could eat their fill either, since the fishing techniques of ordinary people were still too poor, especially for catching sea fish. Of course, aside from those who didn't starve, many still froze to death every winter. Moreover, helping Konoha resist enemies and doing missions basically earned no money, so Uzushiagakure remained at the poverty line for a long time. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Jun couldn't help but complain about Hashirama Senju again. That troublemaker. Back then, it was because of the Konoha-Uzushiagakure friendship treaty he signed with the Uzumaki clan that Konoha kept treating the Uzumaki clan as free labor. So for a place with many people, small territory and poverty, the weather's influence was extremely significant. Thus, the festival became a major event for Uzumaki. This time, because it was wartime again, the subordinates came to ask whether this year's festival should be held. After all, during the last Great War, which also happened near the year's end, the Uzumaki clan cancelled the festival. How is the domestic atmosphere recently? Uzumaki Jun put down the documents and looked at Uzumaki Hibiki beside him. There shouldn't be any unexpected incidents, right? Although Uzumaki was somewhat isolated from the mainland, the people could still sense the unusual atmosphere. After all, many foreign merchants came to Uzumaki every year for business. This time, because of the three great villages gathering troops in the land of rain, most of these merchants left. Anyone could tell something was wrong. Yes. Although the people were initially unsettled by the merchants leaving, Uzumaki Hibiki nodded, it didn't have much impact on Uzumaki. Has the intelligence about the war breaking out in the ninja world been relayed to everyone? Uzumaki Jun propped his chin with his hands. This matter can't be hidden for long. If Uzumaki truly gets dragged into war, it will be a nationwide battle. Because only by mobilizing the entire country's strength can Uzumaki survive the chaos of the five great villages war. So, psychological preparation for war must be made in advance. Local officials have already notified everyone, Uzumaki Hibiki said. At first, people were surprised. Many gathered at relevant institutions to ask if there was anything they could do to help. Even a 70-year-old man came trembling with his cane to ask. He wanted to contribute to protecting Uzumaki. Uzumaki Hibiki smiled slightly. In the end, they were all persuaded to return by the local police and officials. This feeling is really nice. Back when the Uzumaki clan governed Uzumaki, they never received such adoration. But now, Uzumaki Hibiki glanced at Uzumaki Jun, who was deep in thought, and smiled with hope in his heart. Uzumaki will definitely become stronger, even stronger than the five great nations. Good. After hearing Uzumaki Hibiki's report, Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction. This was the hope the nation's policies gave its people. They didn't want this hope destroyed by enemies, so they would naturally protect it. Very well. No matter what, do not disrupt Uzumaki order. Uzumaki Jun stretched lazily. As long as everyone still believes in Uzumaki will not perish. Everyone has been too tense recently. It's time to let everyone relax. Let's arrange it for the festival day. Chapter 149. Night. Tonight was an unusual night. Although the sun had long disappeared and the bright moon had already risen in the night sky, the land of whirlpools was still brightly lit. The cylindrical objects on both sides of the road seemed to be called streetlights. These things had suddenly appeared last month. At first, no one knew what they were, until that night. These cylindrical objects suddenly lit up, bringing light to the originally pitch-black land of whirlpools. Now, every household had these things, but theirs were not called streetlights. They were called desk lamps. The old oil lamps had been discarded, as these desk lamps were cheaper and more convenient. There was no need to buy wicks or lamp oil anymore. They only needed to purchase chakra batteries. Dad, I want that. A little girl pulled her father's hand and pointed at something nearby. That candy. It was a candy shaped like a cute cat stretching. Okay. The man, around 30 years old, smiled and picked up the little girl. Dad will buy it for you. With a smile on his face, he took his wife's hand and headed toward the candy shop. You. The woman looked at her husband and shook her head helplessly. You spoil her. Eating candy at night will make her teeth hurt. I won't take her to the hospital if that happens. It's fine. Today is the festival, and it's rare to have a day off. Let's relax a little. The man smiled and shook his head. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've spent time with you two. It's okay. The woman smiled and took the girl from the man's arms. She pinched the girl's nose. Right, Yuko? Yeah. The little girl nodded seriously. Dad is very busy. He has to earn money to buy candy for Yuko. You little rascal. The woman and man looked at each other and laughed, shaking their heads helplessly. Yes, you little glutton. The man patted the little girl's head. Dad will buy it for you now. Then, holding his wife's hand, he walked toward the candy shop. Today was the festival, and it was rare for him to have a day off. It was time to spend some quality time with his wife and daughter. Other than when they got married, he hadn't had much time to accompany her. Even when Yuko was born, he hadn't been able to stay with her. "Boss, how much for this cat-shaped candy?" The man picked up the cat candy and looked at the shop owner, who was still bent over making candy. "Today is the festival, so it's only..." The boss raised his head and paused when he saw the man. "Officer Sosuke." "Hello." Sosuke was also surprised but smiled. "How much is this?" It seemed the shop owner recognized him. "No charge, no charge." The boss shook his head. "How could I take money from Officer Sosuke? If it weren't for you that day, my foolish son might have." "Your son?" Officer Sosuke looked at the boss in confusion. Was this someone he had helped during duty? "Yeah, Koichi. Dark-skinned, short hair." The boss scratched his head awkwardly. "That day really troubled you." "Oh, you're Koichi's father." Sosuke seemed to remember and smiled. "Is he doing okay now? You should keep an eye on him. Kids shouldn't play in such dangerous places." Koichi, he remembered. A boy with no talent for ninjutsu. Because he couldn't become a ninja, he was upset and went to the edge of a cliff to clear his mind. But then he accidentally got stuck on the cliff. If they hadn't found him in time, he might have. "Haha, after that day, I gave that boy a good beating." The boss laughed. If he wants to be a ninja, he should persist like Shijo. What was he doing in such a dangerous place? He's much more obedient now. Sosuke shook his head helplessly. "Actually, it's not bad not being a ninja." He looked at the candy in his hand and snapped back to reality. "Right, how much for this?" If his daughter hadn't tugged his sleeve impatiently, he would have forgotten about buying the candy. "No charge, no charge." The boss smiled. "This is to thank Officer Sosuke for your help last time." "No." Sosuke shook his head. "That wouldn't be proper." He took out money. "Take this." He simply handed the money to the boss. Otherwise, this would drag on forever. Today was an important day to spend with his wife and daughter. "I'll leave the money here." Sosuke picked up his daughter and took his wife's hand, quickly walking away. "Wishing you good business, boss." Hey, this is too much." The candy shop owner held the money, trying to return it, but other customers stopped him. He had no choice but to accept it. "Today's the festival, everything's 20% off. Everyone, enjoy the candy and be happy." "Woo." Sosuke stopped and let out a sigh of relief, smiling helplessly. "That almost made me break my principles." "Pfft." The woman couldn't help but laugh. "You. Haha." Sosuke grinned foolishly at his daughter. "Come on, Dad's tired. Let Dad have a bite." "Okay." Yuko held up the candy seriously. "But Dad can only have one bite." "You little rascal." The mother tapped her daughter's head. "So stingy." "Because it's Yuko's." Yuko pouted unhappily. "Okay, Dad will only take one bite." Sosuke smiled and nodded. He leaned down and took a bite of the candy. So sweet. So sweet. Back then, when he followed the clan leader out of Hell Valley, he thought they would just be used as tools. But as long as they could leave that awful place, it didn't matter. Yet, he never expected. Life here was so good. Here, he met the woman he loved and had a lovely daughter. And all of this started in the land of whirlpools. "I heard there's going to be a war." Looking at the peaceful, happy scene, the woman nervously turned to her husband. "Isn't living peacefully enough? Why does there have to be a war?" "Yeah, there's going to be a war." Sosuke nodded, then smiled. "Don't worry, I'll protect you and our daughter. And I believe the land of whirlpools will be fine. No one can destroy the land of whirlpools. If anyone tries to ruin this, I'll stop them with my life." "Is there going to be a war?" Yakushi Nono looked worriedly at the red-haired boy beside her. Back when she was brought here, both of them were just children. But now, they had grown taller and older, especially this boy in front of her. Back then, he was about the same height as her. Now, he was a whole head taller. And he had also become more handsome. She glanced at Uzumaki Jun, then blushed and turned away. "Will the land of whirlpools be?" "Don't worry." Uzumaki Jun smiled at Yakushi Nono. The once malnourished girl with yellow hair had now become beautiful. He had heard she had a great talent for medical ninjutsu under Kyoko's guidance and was now capable of handling things on her own. The land of whirlpools will be fine. Just like how I promised you back then that life here would be good. Believe me, the land of whirlpools will only grow stronger. Yet. Yakushi no lowered her head and whispered. I believe you. I've always believed you. Uzumaki Jun didn't notice Yakushi no's unusual reaction. He simply smiled as he watched the two red-haired girls happily running around with Kyoko in the distance. So, go and have fun too. Leave the rest to me. No, I like it like this. A trace of disappointment flashed in Yakushi no's eyes, but she smiled. This is fine too. Suddenly, Uzumaki Jun stopped and frowned as he looked to the side. What's wrong? Yakushi no asked in confusion. Is something the matter? Yet. Uzumaki Jun nodded helplessly. The police chief invited me for tea. The Shinoik clan leader. Yakushi no frowned. If you're busy, you should go. She knew that even though he wasn't an adult yet, the fate of an entire country rested on his shoulders. So he was always busy. Sorry. Uzumaki Jun apologized. I promised to spend today with you all. Have fun. I'll be back soon. This was a headache. Today was supposed to be a day off to spend with the girls. What did the Shinoik clan leader want that couldn't wait until tomorrow? If the matter wasn't serious, he was definitely going to give him an earful. It's fine. Yakushi no smiled. I'll keep an eye on them. Yet. Uzumaki Jun turned and waved back at Uzumaki Kushina, who had suddenly waved at him. I'll be back soon. Humph. Shinoik clan leader. I'll beat you up first. You might have missed but there was time skip few chap before. In chap 140, it was end of year 29 Konoha, in chap 143 it was end of year 31. Chapter 150. People from Konoha have arrived. Just as Uzumaki Jun was about to take action, the leader of the Shinoik clan spoke up directly. The Uzumaki clan leader asked me to find you. They're here? So what? Uzumaki Jun frowned and said, didn't we already say last time? If Konoha comes seeking an alliance, ignore them completely. He had already addressed the matter of Konoha seeking an alliance. After all, the only ones willing to be used by Konoha so willingly were Uzushiagakuer, allies established since the time of the first Hokage. But that was all in the past. Uzushiagakuer was different now. Uzushiagakuer had changed its social system and political direction. Did they still have the audacity to come seeking joint resistance against enemies? Even though they superficially maintained generational friendship, Uzushiagakuer and Konoha were already enemies. Moreover, they came on the day of Uzushiagakuer's festival. Didn't they know this was one of the most important days for Uzushiagakuer? After all, the Uzumaki clan's longevity and the millennia-old belief that they were blessed by the Shinigami, especially with their ultimate technique, the dead demon-consuming seal, which was related to the Shinigami. No matter what, the Uzumaki clan's faith was in the Shinigami. Can't the clan leader handle it? Uzumaki Jun said helplessly, why call me over? To beat someone up? He wasn't skilled at that. No, the situation isn't that simple, the Shinoik clan leader said helplessly, they seem to have brought a personal letter from Lady Mito, demanding to hand it to you directly. Uzumaki Mito? Uzumaki Jun immediately frowned, feeling a wave of helplessness inside. What did she want now? Didn't she know that when Uzushiagakuer was attacked, Konoha stood by and watched coldly? Now she was asking her homeland to help. Wasn't that just setting them up for failure? Fine, I'll go take a look, Uzumaki Jun said resignedly. No matter what, she did help Uzushiagakuer with the sealing techniques back then. He still had to thank her for the sealing techniques matter. Otherwise, would the other villages have been so willing to conduct experiments? They'd probably have come to Uzushiagakuer to kidnap people by now. Do we need to evacuate the citizens temporarily? The Shinoik clan leader asked with a frown. After all, no matter what, war was a serious matter. If something unexpected happened, the large crowd could become troublesome. No need, Uzumaki Jun stretched lazily and said, they deserve a break. It's time to relax a little. Since Uzushiagakuer had just rebuilt its new government, it was still in a phase of large-scale construction. There were too few entertainment options domestically, and staying in a constant state of tension could easily lead to problems. To ensure the citizens could enjoy the festival, Uzumaki Jun had racked his brains. Basic games like goldfish scooping, sandbag throwing, candy, and masks were all brought out. As for acrobatics, in the ninja world, that was pointless, any ninja could do it. He even had the research institute temporarily develop safe chakra guns for shooting games. Cancel everything just because Konoha came seeking an alliance? Ha, Konoha wasn't that important. You'll have to work hard tonight, Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment and decided not to beat anyone up. After all, they were still diligently on duty. Don't let the enemy take advantage of the chaos. Today was the festival, arguably the day Uzumaki was most relaxed. If other villages chose this moment to strike, the resulting panic would likely be huge. This is all for serving the people. The Shinoite clan leader said firmly, I'll make sure those below stay alert. Good. Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction. It seemed they had studied the public security policy's basic principles well. If you're short on manpower, borrow some from the military. I'll keep that in mind, the Shinoite clan leader nodded, hesitating for a moment before adding, if there's anything the Shinoite clan can do. They were very satisfied with their current life, except for that finance minister who kept coming to collect debts. Though they had borrowed quite a bit, they could repay it slowly. During their time in Uzumaki, the Shinoite clan had grown significantly, with many new births revitalizing the clan. They didn't want this peaceful life disrupted. Uzumaki Jun paused, then patted his shoulder and said, don't neglect your son's ideological education. The Shinoite clan leader was stunned. What was wrong with Homura? Nothing, I just mean that your clan and the Kamaizuru clan still can't reveal yourselves, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly, after all, you're both supposed to be extinct. If other villages found out Uzumaki had the Kamaizuru and Shinoite clans, it would likely lead to the 5 great nations declaring war on Uzumaki. That was why he made the Shinoite clan wear sunglasses when using their Kekii Genkai. Otherwise, anyone could guess the Akatsuki's connection to Uzumaki. Uzumaki Jun patted the Shinoite clan leader's shoulder, reminding him to be careful, then teleport directly to the clan leader's office using the Flying Thunder God technique. He wanted to see what Konoha was really up to. For the group from Konoha seeking an alliance, the Uzumaki clan leader simply nodded cheerfully. But the moment they brought up forming an alliance, he shook his head helplessly. Uzumaki didn't have the capability. After the war where Uzumaki single-handedly resisted Kirigaku, one of the 5 great nations, they still hadn't recovered. So Uzumaki couldn't help them. And besides, Uzumaki had no obligation to help Konoha. Then, seeing the Konoha envoy's furious yet suppressed expressions, the Uzumaki clan leader felt a surge of satisfaction. Hadn't he felt the same way when he went to Konoha for help back then? If they could abandon Uzumaki for the sake of peace, then Uzumaki could do the same. After all, Uzumaki also loved peace. Clan leader Uzumaki. The Konoha envoy, a middle-aged man with a pineapple-like hairstyle, said helplessly, if the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. If Konoha falls, Uzumaki will be in trouble too. Don't worry, we believe Konoha will be fine, the Uzumaki clan leader said righteously. Konoha is one of the 5 great nations, the village that produced the god of shinobi. How could anything happen? Damn it! Naruto cursed inwardly but could only sigh. He never wanted this mission in the first place. No matter how he looked at it, sending someone from the Senju clan would have been better than sending the Hokage's secretary. But due to some actions in the village, the Senju clan leader now claimed to be bedridden and unable to move. So in the end, he was the one sent. Where is Lord Jun? Naruto decided to stop beating around the bush. He hoped Lady Mito's letter would help. This was too humiliating. No matter what he said, the other would nod, but the moment he mentioned an alliance, he'd shake his head and plead poverty. Back then, Konoha was at fault, but so many years had passed. If Konoha fell, Uzumaki would suffer too. And if Uzumaki fell, well, cough. Konoha and Uzumaki were still generational allies. Weren't those the words they always chanted? Lord Jun has been very busy lately, the clan leader said with narrowed eyes and a smile, so you'll have to wait a while. However, he was also somewhat displeased inside. What was Lady Mito thinking, causing trouble at a time like this? Did she really want Uzumaki to wade into this mess? Facing 3 great nations and the demigod of the shinobi world, was that something a small country like Uzumaki could handle? Just then. What letter does Grandma Mito have for me? Chapter 151, Konoha fighting 1 against 2, no fear. Uzumaki Jun looked at the letter from Uzumaki Mito with a strange expression, sighing helplessly in his heart. As expected, Grandma Mito still could not let go of Konoha. The letter pleaded for Uzashigakure to help Konoha resist the 3 great shinobi villages in Omegakure. Then followed a long passage about the first Hokage's ideals of peace, how Konoha always strived for peace and protected the world's peace, and how this time they were forced into it. After that came a bunch of nonsense about Konoha and Uzashigakure supporting each other. It gave Uzumaki Jun a headache. This kind of motivational talk made him nauseous. Anyone could see that the first's ideals of peace were toxic. Whoever followed them would fail. Did he really think peace could be achieved by everyone showing a little love? No matter how you looked at it, Madara's plan for a hacker empire was more realistic and had a better chance of achieving peace than the first's ideals of love. It wasn't that Uzumaki Jun looked down on the first's saintly thinking, but most people in the shinobi world were ordinary and had desires. Of course, this time Mito-sama wasn't asking Uzashigakure to support Konoha for free. They would pay, but the reward was really. The first Hokage did 3 foolish things in his life. The first was establishing the one nation one village policy, successfully turning small-scale clan fights into large-scale wars between nations. The second was selling the tailed beasts. Thinking of a man with long black hair and a non-mainstream style embarking on a journey to collect tailed beasts made Uzumaki Jun's liver ache. While shouting "Become my Pokemon," he sold them off like livestock. The third was turning clan secret techniques into village property. His brother, the second Hokage, also selflessly contributed all the jutsu he spent his life researching to Konoha. Then, a certain monkey used these 2 sets of forbidden jutsu to buy people's loyalty. Later, Konoha had the Uchiha clan's secret techniques and the Uzumaki clan's secret techniques, but not the Sarutobi clan's or the Shimura clan's secret techniques. So starting from the third Hokage, Konoha always coveted other clans' secret techniques. As for the jutsu he created as the professor, he felt they weren't qualified to be included. What made Uzumaki Jun's liver ache was that Uzumaki Mito actually offered the first's wood release jutsu and the second's water release jutsu as rewards this time, but none of the forbidden jutsu were included. Sigh. He didn't know if this was Mito's decision or the work of Konoha's scheming quartet. It perfectly targeted Uzashigakare's current problem, a lack of jutsu. When establishing the academy, Uzumaki Jun and the others discovered a major issue: there were too few elemental jutsu available. And the Uzumaki clan. They specialized in sealing techniques. They only knew 1 or 2 water release jutsu. In the end, they managed to scrape together enough by exchanging some through the system and gathering bits from here and there. But it was still too little. It wasn't that Uzumaki Jun was stingy and didn't want to exchange for a complete set from the system, but there were too many, and they were too expensive. A full set of wood release aside, that set of water release would really help Uzashigakure. Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, "Not enough, this isn't enough." He handed Mito's letter to the clan leader. At the very least, they needed a complete set of 5 elemental C-rank jutsu. The Uzumaki clan leader took the letter from Uzumaki Jun, glanced at it, and also narrowed his eyes. He understood Jun's meaning. "Sigh, Mito-sama." The clan leader sighed, his face showing a nostalgic expression. "I still remember how close the Senju and Uzumaki clans were when I was young. Konoha and Uzashigakure are still very close now." Narashikaso didn't know why, but hearing this made him uneasy. Were they still not agreeing to Konoha's terms? Yes. The Uzumaki clan leader nodded, narrowing his eyes. Konoha and Uzashigakure share a generations-long friendship. Then, Narashikaso felt a surge of excitement. Could his mission be accomplished? But Uzashigakure is currently too weak and too poor. The clan leader forced a bitter smile and said helplessly, "I'm afraid we can't." Hearing this, Narashikaso's heart tightened again. This was why he hated dealing with troublesome matters like this. "State your conditions," Narashikaso said with a headache. "If Konoha can agree, we will." He understood Uzashigakure wasn't satisfied with the offer. A complete set of 5 elemental jutsu and 1 billion ryo. The Uzumaki clan leader immediately said righteously. "Uzashigakure is poor right now. Damn it." Narashikaso cursed inwardly. This demand was way too harsh. "This price is too." Narashikaso said helplessly. "Konoha may not be able to agree. Bargaining is normal. The Uzumaki clan leader said casually. Ask your Hokage first. Uzumaki isn't in a hurry. We can wait slowly. But we are in a hurry, damn it. Narashikaso cursed inwardly again and said, please wait. I will report Uzumaki conditions to the Hokage. Good. Then please rest in Uzumaki for now. The Uzumaki clan leader nodded. Hibiki. Yes, clan leader. Uzumaki Hibiki closed his notebook and stepped forward. Your orders. Arrange accommodations for our future allies. The Uzumaki clan leader waved his hand. Make sure they are treated well. Uzumaki Hibiki narrowed his eyes slightly and nodded. Understood. He knew the clan leader's meaning. They were to be placed in the prisoner camp, to prevent them from wandering around. Konoha. What do you think? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe. Should we agree to Uzumaki conditions? He sighed inwardly. They had been holding meetings very frequently lately. Uzumaki demands are really... Yuditen Koharu frowned as she put down the document. Konoha absolutely cannot agree. We shouldn't have offered the first and second Jutsu scrolls as conditions in the first place. Otherwise, Uzumaki wouldn't be making such outrageous demands. Last time, they extorted money because of Danzo. Now they were doing it again? What did they take Konoha for? Ha! Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed bitterly and shook his head. He had wanted the same, but when he went to see Mito-sama, it was her demand. Otherwise, she wouldn't have written the letter. As for the Senju clan... The Senju clan... Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flashed with a complicated light. There's no time left. According to intelligence, Kumo's main forces are already heading toward the Land of Rain. This... Yuditen Koharu and Mito Kato Homura exchanged glances and sighed. This demand is too harsh. Sigh. In that case... Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep puff of his pipe, his gaze firm. Konoha can only give them C-rank 5 elemental jutsu, and the money will be reduced to 500 million. But... Uzumaki must at least hold back 2 of the enemy villages. As for the remaining 2 villages... Konoha fighting 1 against 2, they could win this. Chapter 152, Matters that can't be solved with one's own money. 2 of them. Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes as he looked at the conditions sent over from Konoha. He hadn't expected Konoha to fully agree to their demands, but this was already quite good, so he had the clan leader sign the contract. Originally, he had planned to go to the Land of Rain after the war ended, but now, the early admission ticket was already secured. Little June. However, the Uzumaki clan leader and elders all looked worried. After all, these were 2 hidden villages. Could Uzumaki hold out? Shouldn't Uzumaki be lying low right now? Why suddenly agree to Konoha's request? Say, if we give Tsunagakure and Omegakure 200 million each, would they agree to just stand by and cheer? Uzumaki Jun sighed. Then after a few months, when Konoha finishes fighting Iwagakure and Kumagakure, we can take action. The people in the meeting room looked at each other in surprise. There was actually such an approach. They immediately felt deep respect. As expected of someone who became cage level at 7 years old. They will agree. Kakuzu said disdainfully. Tsunagakure and Omegakure are both poor. Why were they fighting this war? Wasn't it for a profit? Now someone was paying them to just watch the battle. They could earn money while weakening Konoha, Iwagakure, and Kumagakure. Why wouldn't they agree? They were probably secretly delighted. And Tsunagakure and Omegakure, these 2 villages were notoriously poor. Suddenly getting a windfall, without even having to take action, just waiting until Konoha and Iwagakure, Kumagakure exhausted each other before making their move. The only thing was that the money would leave their hands before they could even warm it, which was a bit painful. Kakuzu wondered if he should ambush the money carriers halfway. 200 million was how many S-rank missions worth. But... this is 200 million we're talking about. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his chin. Seems like Kakuzu and I will have to make another trip. If they could sell weapons to Tsunagakure, the money might just flow back, maybe even with profit. Would Konoha be unhappy about this? The clan leader asked worriedly. After all, shinobi valued trustworthiness. Those who didn't were hunted down as rogue ninjas. If Uzumaki reputation. That would be too costly. No problem, aren't we stopping Tsunagakure and Omegakure? As for reputation, Uzumaki didn't rely on mission income anyway, so it didn't matter. Moreover, when it came to prestige, he still had a secret weapon. White Zetsu is such a good comrade. Uzumaki Jun sighed. Now Uzumaki will enter war preparations. Uzumaki Jun said seriously to everyone present. Pass down the orders. There's only one rule, we don't need to sacrifice ourselves for Konoha. If the situation looks bad, retreat immediately. At the same time, have the Uzunin recruit refugees in the Land of Rain. Since they'd already received half the payment up front, even if something went wrong later, Uzumaki wouldn't lose out. And this was the only safe way to enter the battlefield. Otherwise, before the war ended, Uzunin wandering around the Land of Rain would easily run into trouble. This time, entering the battlefield under the pretense of helping, while other villages were fighting, Uzumaki would be saving the shinobi world, saving thousands of suffering people. Wasn't this worth promoting? Yes. Early in year 32 of Konoha's calendar. Just after New Year's, the Second Shinobi World War officially began with 3 great villages in the Land of Rain declaring war on Konoha. With fighting on 2 fronts, Konoha was short on manpower. Since Kumigakure was too far away, they fought at the northern border of the Land of Fire, trying to divide Konoha's military strength. As Konoha's ally, partner of justice, Uzumaki couldn't bear to see the peace ambassador of the shinobi world, Konoha, suffer such disaster. Even though this time it was Konoha's mistake, Uzumaki still resolutely joined the war under the name of Volunteer Army to support Konoha. They called themselves ninjas who loved peace and longed for peace. Even though Konoha had treated them this way and that before, Uzumaki held no regrets. Their friendship with Konoha could be traced back to the time of the god of shinobi, Hashirama Senju, with a long history, so they absolutely wouldn't stand by and watch Konoha get bullied by 4 villages. Before the war even started, Uzumaki righteousness had already spread throughout the shinobi world. As the higher UPS knew, Konoha had treated Uzumaki as a little brother, yet Uzumaki could still set aside past grievances to help Konoha. They were truly foolish. But this was exactly the kind of ally everyone hoped for in this era of war. Hadn't you seen? Even Konoha felt ashamed. Now even Konoha's civilians were praising Uzumaki righteousness. In Konoha, because of the war, the originally peaceful village had become tense. All the civilians sighed that Konoha truly had a good ally. Even in this crisis, they hadn't abandoned Konoha, making them both touched and ashamed. Such a small country could uphold righteousness, truly not easy. And Konoha? It was said that during the First War, they had abandoned Uzumaki. They felt ashamed of Konoha's leaders for this. If Konoha won this war, they would owe Uzumaki a huge debt. So who spread these rumors? The Hokage massaged his temples as he read the reports from his subordinates. Not only did he have to manage the war, but also maintain harmony in the village. Such a headache. Still no leads. The ANBU captain shook his head. They seemed to have appeared out of nowhere in the village. Hearing the ANBU's report, Hiruzen Sarutobi helplessly rubbed his forehead. How shameless of Uzumaki. Humph. Were they helping for free? They were getting paid, getting paid. These rumors made Uzumaki sound so noble and loyal, really. Hiruzen had words he desperately wanted to say. Pass down orders to stop the rumors from spreading further. Finally, Hiruzen could only sigh. At the same time, investigate the source. This was wartime, not even a hint of accident could be allowed. Yes. The ANBU nodded in acknowledgement. Watching the ANBU leave, Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe, frowning as he muttered, the troops should have reached Omegakure by now. How were things going? What is Advisor Danzo doing now? Then an ANBU shinobi suddenly appeared. At the Uchiha compound. Hiruzen was stunned by the ANBU's words. What is he doing at the Uchihas again? Don't worry. Danzo said righteously to the Uchiha clan head before him. Konoha won't wrong the innocent, nor let the guilty go. I believe the Uchiha clan is innocent, so set your minds at ease. Don't make any rash moves recently. I've persuaded the Hokage to temporarily lift the restrictions on the Uchiha clan. Danzo sighed. The order should reach you soon. Though this time, not many Uchiha will be allowed out. But you must believe that I, Danzo, will definitely help you, so that in the future you can walk freely in Konoha like other clans. Danzo looked solemn and earnest at the Uchiha head, as if saying trust me, we're on the same side, I'm a good person. Lord Danzo. The Uchiha head was completely baffled by Danzo's words. Just what were these people planning? Especially this Danzo, visiting the Uchiha every few days, not to cause trouble but just to preach about his own righteousness, fighting to return the Uchiha to the center of power. Or saying Konoha was doing this for their own good, for the village's good, so they shouldn't hold grudges. Just a bunch of nonsense. The Uchiha head was completely confused. Though their clan was expressionless, they weren't stupid. And with things like this, even idiots could tell there was a scheme, especially when a Mangekyo Sharingan had appeared in the shinobi world, and that Mangekyo was from Konoha. All clues pointed to the Uchiha, yet Konoha wasn't taking action. This wasn't normal. So what exactly were they planning? Though the Uchiha clan longed to return to the center of power. This made me very nervous. Thank you for understanding the Uchiha so much, Lord Danzo. The Uchiha head said expressionlessly. The Uchiha have absolutely no intention of deceiving Konoha. I believe you. Danzo nodded satisfactorily. Konoha believes you too. So this time. Chapter 153, All for Mother's Sake. Black Zetsu, do we really have to listen to that brat? A group of white Zetsu surrounded Black Zetsu and said, you know our goal is not like this. Have you all finished your tasks? Black Zetsu frowned and asked. How could he want to listen to that brat? But that brat actually threatened him, saying that if he didn't obey, the brat would transform into Uchiha Madara and cause trouble tonight. Black Zetsu had no choice. After lurking for 1,000 years, as the mastermind behind the scenes in the shinobi world, how could he be so easily threatened by an 11-year-old kid? Even if the kid had grown taller now, he still hadn't reached 180 centimeters. How could anyone believe he was impersonating Lord Madara? So, it was better to lie low. Lying low was important. He wasn't afraid of that brat. He was just worried about failing to rescue Mother. Mother's mission was the most important. Everything else was insignificant. But this won't do. A white Zetsu said anxiously. Boss Madara asked us to find a replacement for him, and we still haven't found one. Would they really have to let that brat take the role in the end? Just thinking about it was terrifying. They would never have peaceful days again. That brat treated them like free labor. We really need to think of a solution, Black Zetsu nodded and said. We must find a successor for Lord Madara's Rinnegan. He had waited so many years, finally encountering an Indra who could elevate his eyes to a level just sufficient to rescue Mother. How could he give up so easily? He, Black Zetsu, the third son of the mother of Chakra, could not be threatened by some brat. Then, a white Zetsu hesitated before saying, should we still film the Shinobi War documentary that brat asked us to make? The scene fell into silence. Sigh. Black Zetsu sighed and said, send out some more white Zetsu to film it. We're not afraid of him. We're doing this to rescue Mother. All the white Zetsu stared at Black Zetsu in shock. No wonder Mother made you the leader and us the cannon fodder. You can make such a righteous excuse out of plain fear. Right, we're not afraid of him, all the white Zetsu echoed. We're doing this to rescue Mother. Uzumaki Jun had no idea that Zetsu was dissatisfied with his arrangements and planning to cause trouble. Right now, he was busy arranging the war affairs for Uzumaki. War was not something that could be explained in a few words. A series of tasks made it quite complicated. Especially now that his prestige in the military was so high. If he didn't explain things clearly, the soldiers might really think they were going to help Konoha. If they fought recklessly, it would be over. Although Uzumaki had paid to ensure that Omegakure wouldn't act rashly in the next few months. Who knew if they might suddenly get impulsive? From the first Kazekage, it was clear that Tsunagakure was full of shameless people. They just needed to hold on for a few more months. A few months would be enough for Uzumaki to gain some reputation and recruit refugees. As for those who ran away in the end, Uzumaki was a small nation with a sparse population. Holding off two major shinobi villages for so long was already very difficult. Konoha would understand them. After all, Konoha and Uzumaki had a generations-long friendship. Moreover, the weapons had to be delivered to Omegakure and Tsunagakure in batches. Otherwise, what if they got arrogant after obtaining such powerful weapons? Even though they were just defective products. Kamaki, Kai, you already know the real objective of this mission, right? Uzumaki Jun said to his right-hand men. Don't let the people below foolishly throw their lives away. This time, Kamaki and Kai would lead some Uzun into the battlefields of Omegakure and Tsunagakure, respectively. The numbers weren't large because Uzushiagakure currently didn't have many shinobi. So, in the end, they would still rely on shadow clones and transformation jutsu. It was just for show anyway. With fewer people, they could retreat faster if anything unexpected happened. Also, remember to protect the medical nin. Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. Medical nin were truly precious to Uzushiagakure. After all, medical jutsu were even rarer. Kamaki and Kai nodded understandingly, their expressions saying, "We get it. We won't let anything happen to them." Uzumaki Jun shook his head and was about to explain when Jun and a familiar, dissatisfied voice called out. Uzumaki Kai and Uzumaki Kamaki immediately straightened their faces and said solemnly, "We will complete the mission." Then they quickly left, afraid they might get caught in the crossfire. Kushina. Uzumaki Jun looked helplessly at Uzumaki Kushina, who was pouting unhappily as she walked over. "What's wrong? Did someone make you angry? Tell me who, and I'll beat them up for you." "Yes." Kushina pouted and glared at Uzumaki Jun. "You. Impossible." Uzumaki Jun averted his eyes and said carefully. "You must be mistaken. It is you." Kushina shouted. "Kyoko and Yoroi get to go out. Why can't I?" "They are medical nin going to help," Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. "Besides, the battlefield is dangerous and not fun at all." Truthfully, he didn't want those two girls to go either. The battlefield was unpredictable, and accidents could happen. But in the end, he couldn't resist their pleading. Their teachers also said their medical skills were already very good, they just lacked experience. So, he agreed to let them go. For doctors, clinical experience was crucial. Since Uzushiagakure was peaceful now, they could only treat headaches, colds, and stomachaches. That wasn't enough for them to gain experience. Omegakure was perfect. With its long-term war, the people there were starving and sick. They could follow the troops, treat refugees, and accumulate reputation. Eventually, they would need to take on leadership roles in Uzushiagakure. I can help too." Kushina's eyes darted around. "I'm a shinobi now. I can definitely help." She puffed out her chest and raised her head proudly. But Amir Genin was just cannon fodder on the battlefield. Even though he had ordered the Uzunin to retreat if things got dangerous, accidents could still happen. He was worried Kushina might get hurt. As for Kyoko and Yoroi, Uzumaki Jun had given each of them a specially crafted kunai so they could react quickly if something happened. But Kushina. Uzumaki Jun was afraid she would get bored staying at the rear and do something reckless. "No." Uzumaki Jun shook his head firmly. "It's too dangerous." "But..." Kushina lowered her head unhappily. "I want to help you too. Kyokone and Yoroi could help so well, but she..." Sigh. Uzumaki Jun's heart softened. He said seriously, "Fine, I'll take you with me later. But you must not act recklessly. Stay by my side." Mm. Hearing this, Kushina immediately nodded happily. "I love you the most, Jun and." Then she kissed Uzumaki Jun on the cheek and skipped away joyfully. "This girl." Uzumaki Jun touched his cheek and smiled wryly. "Really?" Chapter 154, Devoting the Nation's Full Strength to Help Konoha. Konoha. Have you heard? Uzushiagakure has sent all its ninjas to support Konoha. Yes, I know about this. My grandmother's younger brother's friend's older sister's nephew is a merchant who came to Konoha yesterday and told me. That procession. It was massive. I heard even ordinary civilians were drafted to join the war. Isn't that dangerous? How can ordinary people fight against ninjas? There's no other choice. Uzushiagakure is just a small country. Resisting 2 ninja villages is impossible, so they have to send civilians to the battlefield too. This. Uzushiagakure is truly righteous. So, we still haven't found out who is spreading these rumors in Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the documents handed to him, frowning. The police force hasn't discovered anything either. Yes, Hokage-sama. An Anbu Jonin knelt on one knee and reported. These rumors seem to have appeared in the village out of nowhere. What about outsiders and merchants? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe. Have they all been investigated? All have been investigated. The Anbu Jonin replied. Recent outsiders entering the village have been thoroughly checked. Ah, dismissed. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Continue to intensify the investigation. We must dig out whoever is hiding in the shadows. Yes. The Anbu Jonin responded and disappeared with a body flicker. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a worried puff from his pipe as he looked at the intelligence report in his hand. Though he knew these rumors were likely related to Uzumaki, the fact that they spread through Konoha undetected meant the culprit was no ordinary person. Even the elite Anbu and police force found no traces. Who could it be? During wartime, having hidden troublemakers in the village was a major threat to Konoha. Uzumaki. Sarutobi Hiruzen muttered with a frown. What exactly are they planning? At that moment, Hokage-sama, the head of the Senjo clan, requests an audience. An Anbu entered and reported. Uzumaki. The atmosphere of war had affected this island nation, but its citizens were not fearful. They remained high-spirited, working diligently at their posts, believing that Uzumaki would protect them, that Lord Jun would protect them. Just as written in the Uzumaki constitution. Uzumaki is your strong shield. Stay vigilant these days. The head of the Shinoik clan, Muroto Jaemon, wearing the Uzumaki Public Security Bureau uniform, spoke seriously. Patrol carefully, but do not disturb the ordinary citizens. At the same time, ensure no enemy ninjas infiltrate. Understood. All the officers responded loudly, chests puffed out. Muroto Jaemon nodded in satisfaction. The peaceful life the Shinoik clan now enjoyed was hard-won. Even during their clan's peak, they had never lived as happily as now. They had found meaning in their lives to protect Uzumaki. If anyone dared to threaten it, they would defend it with their lives, just as the red slogan hanging in the Public Security Bureau hall declared, "Protect our home and nation." Clan head. A Shinoik clansman entered, about to speak, but Muroto Jaemon shot him a sharp look, prompting him to correct himself. Director, the Kamaizuru clan requests an audience. The Kamaizuru clan. Muroto Jaemon was momentarily stunned. He knew of the Kamaizuru clan, originally a major clan from Uegakure, but due to their independent actions, they fell out of favor and, like the Shinoik, sought refuge in Uzumaki. But why were they here? As far as he knew, their honey business had already paid off their debts to that stingy finance minister. The thought made Muroto Jaemon curse the Uzumaki finance minister internally. It wasn't like the Shinoik clan refused to pay, they were just a little slow. Ah, why doesn't the Shinoik clan have anyone who can control bees? Muroto Jaemon sighed inwardly, but seeing the high morale of his clansmen, he smiled faintly. Actually, this life is already quite good. Let them in. Muroto Jaemon said sternly. As for the rest of you, return to your posts. Remember, don't slack off during this period. Even if Lord Jun forgives you, I won't. Understood. Go to work. Muroto Jaemon waved them off. At that moment, the Kamaizuru clan head and his clansmen entered. Oh, Director Kamaizuru, what brings you here? Muroto Jaemon sat in his seat, sipping the newly introduced tea from the mainland. His heart ached at how expensive it was. Come, have some tea. Director Muroto. Kamaizuru smiled as he accepted the tea, ignoring the sarcasm. He understood the jealousy. After 5 years, the Shinoik still hadn't repaid their debts, and rumors said a certain stern-faced man came knocking regularly. As for the title director, it was something he learned from Lord Jun's books on corporate management. He had transformed the Kamaizuru clan into a family business, adopting modern management styles. Following Lord Jun's advice, they were slowly building their brand. Lord Jun had said the Kamaizuru clan would one day openly return to the ninja world, and their divine bee honey would sell across the lands. And this management style seemed to be working well. Speak. Muroto Jaemon watched the confident Kamaizuru. Both were clan heads who had sought refuge in Uzumaki, yet their paths diverged so much. Truly, mastering a skill was crucial. Did you come here just to drink tea? Muroto Jaemon asked. No, I came today to contribute to Uzumaki. Kamaizuru set down his tea, speaking earnestly. Neither of us wants anything to happen to Uzumaki. We don't need you. Muroto Jaemon's expression turned serious. The Public Security Bureau can handle domestic affairs. We will protect Uzumaki. Was the Kamaizuru clan here to show them up? Don't misunderstand. Kamaizuru shook his head with a bitter smile. The Kamaizuru clan does not look down on the Shinoik. We are all citizens of Uzushiagakure and should help each other. The Kamaizuru's B techniques are highly effective for surveillance, investigation, and training. Muroto Jamin fell silent. Kamaizuru had a point. With their help, security would improve, and efficiency would rise. But why did it feel so irritating? Did the Shinoik clan lack any unique skills? Oh, right. Interrogation was their specialty. What do you say? Kamaizuru asked seriously. We mean no disrespect. We just don't want our peaceful lives disrupted. True. Muroto Jamin smiled faintly, narrowing his eyes. As citizens of Uzushiagakure, we should help each other. Seeing the Shinoik clan head relent, Kamaizuru smiled, about to say he would assign clansmen to assist when. So, can the Kamaizuru clan lend us some money? Muroto Jamin sighed. That stingy man keeps coming to collect debts. It's annoying. 3 days, 2 visits. Did the Shinoik clan head have no face left? Chapter 155, Don't go collecting debts every other day. Uzumaki Jun had no idea that the director of Uzushiagakure was so poor he had to borrow money to repay debts. Right now, he was taking Kakuzu to Sunagakure first. They needed to settle this matter before the troops arrived in Amegakure. Otherwise, Sunagakure might really think Uzushiagakure was here to help Konoha, which would be troublesome. Although the entire shinobi world was currently praising Uzushiagakure's righteousness, Uzumaki Jun knew nothing about it. He had no idea where these rumors even came from. With an inward sigh, he realized Uzushiagakure's reputation for kindness had already spread throughout the shinobi world. Everyone was jealous of Konoha for having such a foolish ally. Ah, what a headache! Uzumaki Jun shook his head helplessly. I never thought there'd come a day when I'd be handing money to other villages. So why give them money at all? Kakuzu said, his face twisted in pain. The 2 of us could just flatten their village. This is 400 million ryo we're talking about. In all his years in the shinobi world, Kakuzu had never once given money to others. Now, he was about to break that principle. Hearing Kakuzu's words, Uzumaki Jun rolled his eyes. Did he really think he could go toe-to-toe with the god of shinobi? Even if the 2 of them could quickly crush Sunagakure and Amegakure, he wouldn't do it. Otherwise, instead of 3 great villages attacking Konoha, it'd be 5 great villages invading Uzushiagakure. Right now, Uzushiagakure was small and weak, unable to withstand any major war. If money could solve the problem, then it wasn't a problem. Besides, this money wasn't even Uzushiagakure's to begin with. Don't worry, Uzumaki Jun said with a smile. The reason I brought you along is so we can take the money back later. As long as Sunagakure bought scientific ninja tools, the money would just go from one hand to the other. At most, Uzushiagakure would earn a little less. But people. That was what Uzushiagakure truly lacked right now. For Uzushiagakure to develop, population was absolutely essential. TCH. Kakuzu sighed. It's still a loss. Never mind this miser. At least he was doing a good job managing Uzushiagakure's finances. The only problem was, stop going to the Shinoik clan head every other day to collect debts, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. They've already filed a complaint. It wasn't like they weren't paying, they were just paying a little slower. Meanwhile, in Uzushiagakure, we need to build a large batch of houses soon, Uzumaki Riki said, slapping a paper baton against his palm as he addressed the workers. There'll be refugees arriving, so don't embarrass Uzushiagakure. As the former daimyo of Uzushiagakure and the current daimyo's father, he couldn't afford to hold his son back. Food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, he had to prepare everything properly. Otherwise, if something went wrong, it'd be a disaster. Director Riki? A young man asked, will Lord Jun be bringing more people back? Of course, Uzumaki Riki said proudly. Jun has been working hard to ensure everyone has food, clothes, and peace in the shinobi world. The young man's face filled with admiration. Lord Jun is an incredible person, just like a god. All right, all right. Uzumaki Riki couldn't help but smile at the praise for his son, though he kept a stern expression. Get back to work. Save the flattery. Most of the people here were refugees who had come to Uzushiagakure during the last war. Gone were their gaunt faces and tattered clothes. In Uzushiagakure, as long as you weren't lazy, you wouldn't starve. Right now, Uzushiagaku needed people. By the way, Tomoichi, I heard you bought a house and are getting married, Uzumaki Riki said to the young man. Impressive. You've already bought a home so quickly. Hehe. Tomoichi scratched his head sheepishly. Just a down payment. I haven't paid it off yet. That's still great. Uzumaki Riki patted Tomoichi's shoulder. Invite me for a drink when the time comes. Really? Tomoichi's eyes widened in excitement, his words stumbling. I. What, not willing? Uzumaki Riki frowned, though his eyes still held amusement. Won't even treat me to a drink. And no. I'm just too happy. Tomoichi frantically shook his head. Enough. Uzumaki Riki chuckled and stopped teasing him. Focus on your work now. If you lose your job, you won't be able to pay off your mortgage. Hehe. Tomoichi grinned foolishly. Got it. I'll work hard. After a moment of hesitation, he finally gathered the courage to ask, Director Riki, could you be our witness at the wedding? Me? Uzumaki Riki was taken aback. What about your parents? They? Tomoichi lowered his head, his voice quiet. I wish they were still alive. Life in Uzushiagaku is like heaven. I hope they're happy up there too. Ah. Uzumaki Riki sighed and patted Tomoichi's shoulder, forcing a smile. Sure, just let me know when. I'm sure your parents would be happy to see you settling down. Yet. Tomoichi wiped the corner of his eye and grinned. They'd be really happy. He looked up at the blue sky, his smile soft. Mom, Dad. I'm living happily now, so don't worry about me. I'm getting married soon. And in Uzushiagaku, all citizens can study for free. If our child my son has talent, I'll let him become a shinobi so he can protect our country in the future. Why are you staring at the sky? Get back to work. Uzumaki Riki kicked Tomoichi lightly in the rear. Or I'll dock your pay. Hehe. Tomoichi didn't mind the kick at all. Dusting himself off, he smiled and returned to his station. You wouldn't. Director Riki's a good person. You little brat. Uzumaki Riki laughed helplessly. Get to work. At the port. We're setting sail. We're setting sail. A teenager stood on the deck, arms outstretched as he shouted, Ocean, here I come. Brat, what are you doing? A red-haired middle-aged man appeared behind him and kicked his backside. Get back to work. Oh, Uncle Shigeru. The boy rubbed his butt sheepishly. I was just excited. TCH, you. Uzumaki Shigeru took a drag of his cigarette. Pay attention this time. Learn as much as you can. Yes, sir. The teen stood straight, then grinned and sidled closer. Uncle Shigeru, is it true that every voyage fills the ships to the brim? Yet. Uzumaki Shigeru exhaled smoke. If we bring Sensor Shinobi, the haul's even bigger. These 3 ships won't even be enough. Really? Shouda's eyes widened. Then why not bring more ships? These were massive ships, unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Rumor had it they were Uzushiagaku's new models, some could even fly. It was unbelievable. We don't have enough ships in the country. Uzumaki Shigeru sighed. This time, we're only taking 10. The rest are reserved for transporting refugees. More people are coming to Uzushiagaku. Shouda asked. Yet. Wars everywhere outside. Uzumaki Shigeru sighed. Only you folks in Uzushiagaku live such happy lives. Right. War's terrifying. If not for Uzushiagaku, I'd probably be dead. Shouda nodded, shuddering as memories surfaced. Uzushiagaku's like heaven. When my dad first brought me here, I was so scared, worried something bad would happen. What's there to worry about? Uzumaki Shigeru leaned against the railing. Lord Jun treats refugees well. Food, clothes, jobs, look how happy everyone who came here is now. Good thing we didn't go anywhere else. Shouda grinned, feeling the sea breeze. This feels amazing. So work hard. Uzumaki Shigeru patted his shoulder solemnly. Don't embarrass Uzushiagaku. Remember. Uzushiagaku will always be your strongest support. I won't. Shouda thumped his chest proudly. I'm a citizen of Uzushiagaku. Then, he sighed regretfully. If only I had the talent to be a shinobi. I'd go to the battlefield to protect our country. Ha! You brat! Uzumaki Shigeru laughed. You don't need to be a shinobi to protect Uzushiagakuer. Have you forgotten Lord Jun's words? We're all part of Uzushiagakuer. We just have different roles. So don't look down on yourself. Right now, fishing at sea means not only do our people get to eat fish, but the refugees coming to Uzushiagakuer will too. That's how you contribute to the country. Chapter 156, Killing a Chicken to Warn the Monkeys. Uzumaki Jun avoided the Sunanin guards. This time, when he came to Sunagakuer to discuss cooperation, he didn't bring Kakuzu with him. After all, if two people appeared now and then two people of the same height appeared later, it could easily cause problems. As one of the 5 great shinobi villages, Sunagakuer was extremely poor. Otherwise, the first Kazekage wouldn't have shamelessly demanded money and land from Hashirama back then. Of course, that situation didn't last long. When the tattooed socialite, the bald guy, became the second Kazekage, Sunagakuer escaped its financial crisis. At the same time, with the emergence of puppet techniques, their military strength gradually increased. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have dared to act so recklessly, repeatedly playing the game of allying with and then betraying Konoha. After sneaking into Sunagakuer, Uzumaki Jun went straight to the Kazekage building. A large building made of yellow earth. The second Kazekage, Smon, had made tremendous contributions to Sunagakuer and was also the only second kage to survive the First Shinobi World War. His strength was undoubtedly formidable. But now, he had entered his twilight years. While the Naruto series didn't specify how he died, it was likely around this time, since the Second Shinobi World War occurred during the Third Kazekage's reign. Looking at the aged Smon, Uzumaki Jun released his aura. Since he was here to form an alliance, proper etiquette was necessary. Otherwise, the other party might think he was here to assassinate the Kazekage and immediately call for help. There were definitely Konoha spies in Sunagakuer. If he were discovered, and Konoha demanded Uzushiagakuer repay its debts, what then? Sure enough. Who's there? Smon set down the documents in his hand and frowned, shouting, Who dares intrude into the Kazekage building? Don't be nervous, Uzumaki Jun revealed himself, spreading his hands. I mean no harm. However, Smon ignored Uzumaki Jun's words. Sneaking into the Kazekage building and claiming to mean no harm? Did he think the old man was senile? He immediately summoned his puppets, while black iron sand surged around him, enveloping his surroundings. Uzumaki Jun dodged the incoming puppet techniques and magnet release, sighing helplessly. You can't catch me. He looked at Smon with a headache. Though he had been a bit sneaky, it was all for the sake of peace in the shinobi world. Why couldn't the other party calm down and listen to his explanation? It seemed that tattooed socialites were truly troublesome, especially those with dragon tattoos. Space-time ninjutsu. Done. Kakuzu asked as Uzumaki Jun reappeared. No accidents. Nothing major, Uzumaki Jun spread his hands. Just exchanged a few moves with a socialite. When Smon realized Uzumaki Jun could use space-time ninjutsu and hadn't done anything to harm Sunagakuer, he didn't call for backup. Instead, he wanted to hear why Uzumaki Jun had come to Sunagakuer, since he couldn't catch him. Moreover, after a brief skirmish, Smon understood Uzumaki Jun's strength and recognized that only through cooperation could Sunagakuer and Uzushiagakuer achieve mutual benefit. After all, their common enemy was Konoha, and there was no need for unnecessary sacrifices on either side. Then, Smon agreed but immediately demanded an outrageous sum of 1 billion. Uzumaki Jun slammed the table and roared, You think I'm scared just because you have tattoos? He had no choice but to resort to threats. 200 million, take it or leave it. If Sunagakuer refused, Uzushiagakuer would declare war, and Uzumaki Jun would use space-time ninjutsu to pick off Sunanin one by one. It would just take a bit more time. In the end, Smon relented. After all, earning money wasn't a loss. He also told Uzumaki Jun that Sunagakuer would launch an attack against Konoha in about 6 months. 200 million for 5 months. Uzumaki Jun left satisfied. 5 months was enough for Uzushiagakuer. By then, Uzushiagakuer would retreat due to being a small nation unable to withstand the combined assault of 2 major villages. They had done their best. So, where are we going now? Kakuzu rolled up his sleeves, narrowing his eyes. Let's make Tsunagakure pay us $1 billion first. Not yet, Uzumaki Jun shook his head. We'll act later. Since he had just left, if the Akatsuki appeared immediately, it would raise suspicions, especially since one of them was about the same height. So, they had to wait a bit. He needed to change his shoe inserts first, switching to elevated ones. At the very least, his height had to be different from before. In early year 32 of Konoha's calendar, before the Uzunin arrived in Omegakure, Kyumegakure was the first to lose patience and launched an attack on Konoha. Iwagakure quickly followed suit, also attacking Konoha. The two major villages attacked while loudly accusing Konoha of stealing their weapons, shouting until the entire shinobi world knew that Konoha had exterminated clans and seized their weapons. Thus, the war that swept across the shinobi world officially began. Other small and unknown villages also emerged, demanding Konoha return their weapons and declaring war on Konoha. Though these minor villages didn't pose a significant threat to Konoha, they still diverted a considerable amount of Konoha's forces. Hiruzen Sarutobi and Dans probably took note of these villages, planning to annihilate a few as a warning to others. Otherwise, what if all the minor villages declared war on Konoha later? Against Iwagakure and Kyumegakure, Konoha adopted a defensive stance. As for the minor villages, be careful, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, looking at the intelligence report. The operation must be swift. Only then will the pressure on Konoha ease. Understood, Dans nodded solemnly. I'll make the necessary arrangements. Now wasn't the time to bicker with his old friend. This was a crisis of survival. If Konoha didn't quickly demonstrate its might, the situation would only worsen. Dan's eyes narrowed, and he smirked coldly. I'll make them regret opposing Konoha. I'll leave it to you, Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction at the familiar expression. It seemed the ruthless Dans, who wouldn't hesitate to slaughter entire families, had returned. As for the Uchiha clan, I'll handle them. Now, they truly needed the Uchiha clan's assistance. Hiruzen sighed inwardly. Fortunately, Uzumaki was tying down 2 villages for them. Otherwise, Konoha's situation would be even more dire. As for the Senju clan, he shook his head helplessly. Truly the clan of our teacher. They still love Konoha. Have you decided? Mito Uzumaki looked at Senju Toshiki kneeling before her and sighed. Is there really no other way? I'm sorry, mother, Senju Toshiki bowed deeply, his voice filled with sorrow. The Senju clan must do this. Mito closed her eyes. For some reason, she felt a pang of sadness, but everything she had done was for Hashirama's dream, for peace in the shinobi world. She sighed helplessly. It seems I've truly grown old. What did you say just now? Hearing Mito's words, Senju Toshiki raised his head, tears in his eyes. Thank you, mother. He didn't want to do this either, but he was afraid, especially when the Hokage came to ask mother for. His heart grew even colder. As the clan head of the Senju, he had the responsibility and duty to dedicate himself to Konoha, especially since the first and second Hokage were both Senju. The Senju weren't afraid of sacrificing themselves for Konoha, but Konoha was no longer the Konoha of the past. So, mother, don't worry. The Senju clan will never betray Konoha. Chapter 157, The Virtue of Uzumaki spreads far and wide. War was imminent. While Konoha and other villages were engaged in fierce battles, the Uzumaki forces sent to support Konoha arrived in the Land of Rain. They split into 2 groups, with Kamaki and Kai each leading their own units to their assigned defensive positions. No matter what, Lord Jun had said they must play their roles convincingly. From this moment onward, they were the Uzumaki volunteer army, joining the war for the sake of their generations-long friendship with Konoha. Everyone remembers the real mission, right? Kamaki said, looking at the Uzunin before him. Start setting up camp now, and use shadow clones to draw the attention of the other villages. After all, this was a large force. Having only 1 or 2,000 people would look suspicious. Uzumaki had even mobilized ordinary civilians to join the ranks supporting Konoha. Truly, they were the best allies in the shinobi world. So if numbers were lacking, shadow clones would make up for it. For now, they could only rely on multiple shadow clones combined with transformation techniques. This tactic, the Uzunin were very skilled at it. Seeing everyone nod in understanding, Kamaki began assigning tasks. This operation had to be carried out secretly, avoiding Konoha's war zones to recruit refugees. If discovered, they would easily face suspicion. What puzzled him was how Lord Jun had managed to make the entire shinobi world spread tales of Uzushiagakure's virtue. The main task this time was to guide refugees to Uzushiagakure. Since Uzushiagakure was too far from the Land of Fire, leading them on foot across the Land of Fire to board ships at the coast would be too risky. As for asking Lord Jun to use space-time ninjutsu, that would be too troublesome. This wasn't just a dozen or so people, but hundreds. Lord Jun couldn't possibly spend all his time running errands. How should we handle the airship issue? Kamaki muttered, frowning. This time, they had arrived in the Land of Rain via airship, as per Lord Jun's orders. The refugees would also be transported to Uzushiagakure by airship partly for safety, and partly to promote the airships. Though he didn't fully understand why Lord Jun wanted to sell such a powerful war asset, even if it was a downgraded version that couldn't use chakra batteries and required shinobi to infuse chakra for each flight, it was still a tool that could influence the outcome of wars. But as shinobi, their job was to carry out orders faithfully, not to question them. The only concern was whether things would go as Lord Jun envisioned, because human nature was greedy. If the 5 great shinobi villages united to demand Uzushiagakure disclose the technology, it would spell trouble. Let's hope nothing goes wrong, Kamaki thought helplessly. This war had to keep Konoha preoccupied, leaving them no time to plot against Uzushiagakure. Remember, whether these people are willing or not, Kamaki said, narrowing his eyes, forcefully bring them with us. Those were Lord Jun's orders. As for ideological work, specialized personnel would handle that later. Their main task now was to recruit as many refugees as possible during this time. Uzushiagakure needed many hands for land reclamation. Understood. All the Uzunin nodded in acknowledgement. Uzushiagakure. In a few days, there's another business deal to discuss, Uzumaki Jun said to Kakuzu. It's about the airships. During negotiations with Tsunagakure and Omegakure, it was agreed that Uzushiagakure's shinobi would withdraw in 5 months. Though they were curious why Uzushiagakure, renowned throughout the shinobi world for its virtue, would now act this way. They understood. After all, this was about Konoha. It was already commendable that Uzushiagakure was willing to spend money to seek peace. Did anyone really expect them to sacrifice themselves for Konoha? What kind of foolish nation would do that? So while the Kazekage and the Shinobi no Kami, god of shinobi, smiled on the surface, inwardly they looked down on Uzushiagakure. Peace bought with money would never earn true respect, especially for Hanzo of the Salamander. He knew the feeling all too well. Both of them feared no Kage, yet their nation's weaknesses had reduced them to this state. The difference was that Hanzo, as the Shinobi no Kami, disdained using money to buy peace. Whether facing the 5 great shinobi villages or others, Omegakure would never back down. Thus, Hanzo privately dismissed Uzumaki Jun as still just a kid. That was his assessment of Uzumaki Jun. Remember, profit is secondary, Uzumaki Jun rubbed his temples and said to Kakuzu, who was thrilled after securing 2 lucrative deals. As long as we recover the costs, it's fine. But the 5 great shinobi villages must purchase roughly the same number of airships. Don't worry, Kakuzu patted the chest full of silver coins in front of him and declared righteously. Do I, Kakuzu, seem like the kind of person who'd sell out for money? Uzumaki Jun stared at Kakuzu speechlessly. You know yourself best. He shook his head helplessly. If anything goes wrong, Uzushiagakure will be in trouble. Ignoring Kakuzu, who was still hugging the chest, he told him to get lost. Then, resting his chin on his hands, he leaned back in his chair and pondered. He had to ensure Konoha barely won this war, depleting its forces and weakening the 5 great shinobi villages. Because he had a feeling the Third Shinobi World War would inevitably be the 5 great shinobi villages attacking Uzushiagakure. Uzushiagakure's recruitment of so many Kekii Genkai users couldn't stay hidden forever. Once discovered, the other villages wouldn't hold back. Especially the Kamaizuru clan and Shinoik clan recruited by Akatsuki. They would eventually realize Uzushiagakure's ties to Akatsuki. But they must never discover that he was the masked man behind the scenes. As for Akatsuki, it wasn't a big issue. After all, Akatsuki was a peaceful organization. The murderous masked man was a rogue member of Akatsuki, a Konoha shinobi. Akatsuki had already cut ties with him and issued a bounty. As for Uzushiagakure's collaboration with Akatsuki, It was for the sake of peace in the shinobi world. Uzumaki-Gakuru's stance as a peaceful nation must never waver. So this war had to promote Akatsuki's noble ideals and ensure the entire shinobi world knew Akatsuki was a peaceful organization. This war must keep the 5 great shinobi villages occupied, Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly. Only by weakening the 5 great shinobi villages during this time and maintaining temporary peace could Uzumaki have the breathing room to assimilate the refugees. After that would come Uzumaki rise as the 6th great nation. So, war between Uzumaki and the 5 great shinobi villages was inevitable. Where's Zetsu? Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes, staring at the floor as he muttered in frustration. Why hasn't he shown up these past few days? When it came to stirring up trouble, Zetsu was the expert. The shinobi world's premier troublemaker. To weaken the 5 great shinobi villages to a balanced state, Zetsu's involvement was indispensable. Kirigakure. Airships. Yuki Kioi read the intelligence report from his spies and murmured. Uzumaki-Gakuru's shipbuilding technology has advanced this far. He remembered the spherical objects that had appeared above their fleet during the invasion of Uzumaki. He hadn't expected their technological progress to be so rapid. Now they even had airships. Dispatch the ANBU, Yuki Kioi said sternly to his advisor. Infiltrate Uzumaki and secure the airship technology at all costs. This technology's significance for Kirigakure was immeasurable. Though Kirigakure was a maritime power, its isolation from the mainland made troop mobilization during wars time-consuming and inefficient. With this technology, Kirigakure's path to supremacy would open. Understood, the advisor nodded gravely. He too recognized the airship's importance. I'll arrange it immediately. No matter how dangerous Uzumaki was, this operation was non-negotiable. But we'll need to send our elite for this. Chapter 158, Fellow countrymen, open the door. The people living in the Land of Rain suffered the most. The Land of Rain was a peculiar country. It was a small nation where it rained every single day, and the rain never stopped throughout the year. Because of this, very few people came to the Land of Rain, as the weather was too damp. If one wasn't careful, it was easy to develop rheumatism or bone diseases. At the same time, because its territory bordered the 3 great shinobi villages, the country's development was largely controlled by them. To prevent spies from other villages from infiltrating, the Land of Rain was extremely hostile toward outsiders. Once someone was suspected of being a spy, the usual outcome was. Adding to that, the country was torn apart by civil war, with battles raging year after year. It could be said that life in the Land of Rain was miserable. The people struggled to survive in the cracks, living in fear and numbness. This is the area we're responsible for, right? Kita looked at his surroundings and compared them to the map in his hand. When will this damn weather ever stop? Not possible, another Uzunin said helplessly. We'll just have to drink some ginger water when we get back. Even though shinobi bodies don't usually catch colds, the weather in the Land of Rain is seriously cursed. It rains all year without pause. He glanced up at the drizzling sky. By the way, Kita, I heard you adopted a kid. Honestly, you're not even married yet. Why would you adopt a child? Ugh, it's a long story, Kita said with a pained expression. Let's not talk about it. We should focus on completing the mission. Adopted? What a joke. For some reason, that brat Shij had been staying at his house instead of going to the orphanage, and now his meager salary had to support not only his girlfriend but also a kid. Worse, Shij, unable to use ninjutsu, was determined to become a taijutsu specialist, so his appetite was 3 times that of a normal person. Thankfully, Lord Jun was kind enough to waive Shij's training medical fees. Otherwise, Kita wouldn't even be able to pay his mortgage. Someone's up ahead, Iketsu suddenly stopped Kita and said. Probably civilians from the Land of Rain. Their life signatures aren't strong. How many? Kita immediately became serious, scanning the area warily. Any shinobi nearby? Because they needed to speed up the recruitment of refugees, most of the sensor-type shinobi had been deployed for this operation. Iketsu was one of them. Not many. About 2 people, one of them a child, Iketsu frowned. But the adult seems sick. Their life force is fluctuating. After hearing this, Kita exchanged a glance with Iketsu and decided to act. Their unit had brought several medical nin for situations like this. According to Lord Jun's orders, their mission was to take every person they encountered back to the Land of Whirlpools. Following Ikitsu's directions, Kita arrived in front of a rundown wooden hut and knocked on the door. Anyone there? However, the sounds inside immediately stopped. Kita looked at Ikitsu, who nodded in confirmation. The people inside had heard the knock and were now terrified. After all, this was the land of rain. Years of war had made the people paranoid. A single misstep could cost them their lives, so they rarely opened the door for strangers. But the Uzunin were different. A flimsy wooden door couldn't stop them. Fellow countrymen, open the door! Kita shouted. We're Uzunin. We're organized and disciplined. We won't hurt you. However. Click. Silence. Ikitsu stared at Kita in disbelief. Did he just say they were shinobi? This country was in its current state precisely because of shinobi. Great. Now he sensed the adult's life force weakening even further, probably from fear. Break the door, Ikitsu said helplessly. Otherwise, they might die. If someone died because of this, they'd be punished. Kita sighed and raised his foot. As expected, Lord Jun's approach didn't work. In the end, they'd have to resort to force to bring these people back. The rest could be handled by the professionals. Bam! The wooden door split in two under Kita's kick. Fellow countrymen. Kita and Ikitsu glanced at the shattered door, then looked up to see a blue-haired, emaciated little girl trembling as she held a kitchen knife toward them. Kita forced a smile. Don't be afraid. We're not bad people. But the little girl didn't listen. Gripping the knife with shaking hands, she stared at them fearfully and said, "Gee, get out of here. We're Uzunin. We're not bad people." Kita raised his hands to show he meant no harm and spoke gently. Put the knife down. We won't hurt you. Little sister, Ikitsu also smiled. Don't worry. We're Uzunin, an organized and disciplined force. We don't harm innocent civilians. Get out, the little girl clenched her teeth, her voice trembling. Get out, shinobi. She wouldn't believe a single word shinobi said. The land of rain was like this because of them. Her father had also. She hated shinobi. I hate you. Get out of here. Tears welled up in the little girl's eyes as she shouted. Because of you all. Kita and Ikitsu exchanged exasperated looks. It seemed the people of this war-torn country really despised shinobi. Ikitsu blinked at Kita. Kita paused, then nodded subtly. Fine, we'll leave then. He and Ikitsu turned around. Seeing the shinobi preparing to leave, the little girl relaxed slightly, her grip on the knife loosening. But at that moment, little sister, you have to hold a knife tightly, or it's dangerous. Kita suddenly appeared beside her in a shunshin, grabbing her and taking the knife with a smile. Don't worry. We won't hurt you. We just want to take you, Ikitsu began, but before he could finish, a pale, ragged woman stumbled out, leaning against the wall. Seeing the little girl captured, she immediately fell to her knees in terror. Shinobi-sama, Konan didn't mean to offend you. Please let her go. If you must. Aye. Kita and Ikitsu exchanged another glance. The person with the unstable life force was probably this woman. Don't worry. We mean no harm, Kita slowly released Konan. We're soldiers from the land of whirlpools. We're. But before he could finish, the woman collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Chapter 159, Contributing One's Own Share of Strength. Kita glanced at the woman who had already collapsed onto the bed, his expression pained. He hadn't even finished spreading the virtues of Uzushiagaku, or how could she have fainted already? After all, regularly promoting Uzushiagaku was a direct order from Lord Jun. Helpless, and worried that something might happen to the woman, he could only ask Yuketsu to fetch a medical ninja from the camp to examine her and determine the issue. Meanwhile, they moved the woman onto the tattered bed. This place truly didn't have a single intact item. Looking around the dilapidated wooden house, Kita felt a surge of emotion. The people of Uzushiagaku had once lived in houses like this too. But now, such shabby wooden huts no longer existed in Uzushiagaku. After Lord Jun invented cement, Earth-style ninja, along with ordinary civilians, could construct cement houses in a very short time. As a result, nearly everyone in the country now lived in modern houses, warm in winter, cool in summer, sturdy enough to withstand wind and rain, and even aesthetically pleasing. Some might not have enough money to buy a house immediately. For them, the benevolent Lord Jun had also introduced housing loans in Uzushiagaku. Any citizen could borrow money from the state to purchase a home and then repay it in installments over time, without affecting their daily lives. Thus, nearly everyone could afford to live in these solid cement houses. But even during Uzumaki-Gakuru's poorest days, life had never been this miserable. This broken wooden hut didn't contain a single intact item, everything was in ruins. Even the kitchen knife from earlier probably couldn't even kill someone. Gurgle. Just as Kita was surveying the surroundings, a strange sound interrupted him. He turned and saw the little girl gripping her mother's hand tightly, her head lowered. Hungry. Kita sighed helplessly and stepped forward with a smile. However, Konan turned her head away, ignoring him. But... Gurgle. Her stomach kept growling incessantly. Kita chuckled at the sight. You really are hungry. Children shouldn't go hungry. He remembered how Shijo's stomach would roar like this after training sessions, though his appetite was a bit too big. Kita sighed again, then pointed at the remaining can. This one's fruit-flavored, a little sweet. You'll probably like it. Konan glanced at the fruit can, carefully set aside the fish can. She had never eaten anything so delicious before, and then picked up the other can, plucking out a slice of pre-cut fruit and placing it in her mouth. It was indeed peach-flavored. So sweet. Peach. It tastes like peach, Konan murmured softly. Yeah, delicious, right? Kita said proudly. This was invented by Lord Jun. Delicious. Konan hesitated for a moment before nodding. Delicious. Then eat more. Satisfied with her response, Kita smiled warmly. Go ahead. Children who go hungry won't grow up properly. No. Konan shook her head. I'll save it for Mom. Hearing her words, Kita sighed inwardly. He pulled out 2 more cans from his ninja pouch and handed them to Konan, smiling gently. Don't worry, there's more here. Tell me if it's not enough. What a good kid. Why was Shijo so mischievous in comparison? Konan accepted the cans with her small hands, then raised her head, her bright eyes fixed on Kita. After a moment of hesitation, she finally spoke. You. Why are you here? Why were these ninja different from the ones in the land of rain? They gave them food and even treated their illnesses. What did they really want? Were they truly not here to harm them? Kita paused at the little girl's question, then smiled. Us. We are ninja from Uzumaki, here too. Toto. Uci called out to Toto beside him with a smile. Remember to get a health checkup later. 5 years had passed. Though Toto's constitution was still weak, thanks to proper nutrition and regular medical checkups, he had grown up safely so far. Uci looked up at the sky. The weather was so nice today. Perhaps he really would live to see Toto get married and start his own family. Then, they could have a few children. Right now, only the 2 of them remained in their clan. Brother, sister-in-law. Uci murmured to the sky. Toto and I are doing well. He gazed at the vegetable garden and the adjacent orchard. Though this land belonged to the state, the kind and compassionate leader of Uzumaki Lord Jun had leased it to them when he saw their impoverished living conditions. All they had to do was pay taxes periodically. It was because of Uzumaki that he and Toto could live such a happy life now. I'll have to work a little harder these days. Uci smiled. The demand for vegetables and fruits will definitely increase. He believed that anyone who came to this country would grow to love it. Uzumaki was a nation filled with happiness and hope. Before the law, everyone was equal. Whether you were a ninja or a civilian, breaking the law would result in punishment. So, he wanted to contribute his own share of strength to this wonderful country. Chapter 160, The Fish-Water Bond Between Army and Civilians. Open the door, fellow villagers. We are the Uzu Army, a disciplined and organized force. We do not take a single needle or thread from the people. Fellow villager, please open the door. Creak. Fellow villager, you've finally opened the door. Quickly, take the people away. Remember, we are disciplined and organized. We absolutely do not take a single needle or thread from the people. The Uzu Army is here to deliver warmth. Please open the door. Hello, you have a delivery. In May of the 32nd year of Konoha, when the Uzu Army entered the land of rain, they were warmly welcomed by the people of rain. The Uzu Army strictly adhered to the nation's basic policies, coming from the masses, going to the masses, integrating with the masses, and starting everything from the masses. At the same time, the Uzu soldiers kept in mind the 3 main rules of discipline and the 8 points for attention of Uzushiagakuer. They obeyed the law, did not take a single needle or thread from the civilians of Rain, and even helped and protected the local people, bringing them a sense of security. The actions of the Uzu army made the people of Rain feel deeply moved, reflecting the fish-water bond between the army and the civilians, the heart-to-heart connection between soldiers and people. Something still feels missing, Uzumaki Hibiki muttered, frowning as he reviewed the records he had written about the events in Rain. Suddenly, he paused and said, "Ah, right. I haven't written about Jun-sama yet, the great leader of Uzushiagakuer." He had almost forgotten the most important part. Uzumaki Hibiki quickly added to his notebook. The Uzu army has always remembered Jun-sama's teachings, not daring to forget even the slightest detail. They kept his words in mind at all times, leading by example, starting from the masses, going to the masses, and integrating with the masses. The original purpose of the Uzu army's establishment was to serve the people. "Hibiki, what have you been writing these past few days?" Kamaki asked curiously, watching his friend scribbling away. Ever since following Jun-sama, his good friend seemed to have changed a lot. Since arriving here, he had been carrying a pen and notebook, constantly writing something. His entire demeanor had undergone a dramatic transformation, as if he had become an intellectual. "You mean this?" Uzumaki Hibiki adjusted his glasses and handed the notebook over. "This is a task assigned by Jun-sama. He asked me to record all the Uzu army's actions in Rain and the reactions of the people." "There's such a thing?" Kamaki was shocked. He took the diary and glanced at it, then, as expected of an educated person, Kamaki sighed in admiration as he looked at Uzumaki Hibiki. Then, he glanced at the scene outside the tent. Hurry up, hurry up!" Uzunin shouted. "What are you dawdling for? Throw away all that junk. Uzushiagakuer doesn't lack such things. Listen up. Your good days are coming. Once you reach Uzushiagakuer." A few civilians from Rain followed the Uzunin nervously, afraid that their lives might end at any moment. "It really is a fish-water bond," Uzumaki Kamaki sighed. "This is exactly how it should be written. We must let the entire shinobi world see this." He remembered Jun-sama's mission, to promote the positive image of Uzushiagakuer. "Don't worry," Uzumaki Hibiki said calmly. "Jun-sama said it must be truthful, without the slightest fabrication. So that's how it is." Uzumaki Kamaki nodded in understanding. Jun-sama's words were never wrong. He walked out with his hands behind his back. Soon, the first batch of refugees would be sent back to Uzushiagakuer. Although these civilians from Rain had been brought here forcibly, their faces numb and blank, thinking the Uzunin would do something to them. Once they reached Uzushiagakuer, they would understand what life could truly be. People who had experienced war cherished peace more than anyone else. So Kamaki wasn't worried that these people would resent Uzushiagakuer. Besides, rather than waiting to die in Rain, it was better to go to Uzushiagakuer for large-scale construction. Over the past few years, Uzushiagakuer had been short of manpower in all industries. Especially Riki-sama, Jun-sama's father, and the former daimyo of Uzushiagakuer, who had even gone to the clan leader to demand more people. Apparently, it was because he couldn't get an audience with Jun-sama. In any case, Uzushiagakuer was short on people. "Konan," Iketsu said helplessly, looking at the curious little girl beside him. "Why do you call Kita big brother but call me uncle?" This was really. He was a year younger than Kita, still single, and still a bachelor. How did he end up being called uncle? "Actually, you should call Kita uncle and me big brother." Iketsu crouched down and took out a small bag from his backpack. Kita's family already has a child. Though it was an adopted one, it still counted. He wasn't lying. "If you call me big brother, I'll give you this bag of fruit candy. You know, even Kita doesn't have this. It's very sweet and delicious." However, Konan blinked her big eyes, looking at the small bag, then at Iketsu. Her face showed hesitation. Kita had given her canned food before, but this. Was it candy? "Just call me big brother once, and this whole bag is yours," Iketsu coaxed, seeing her hesitation. "And if anyone bullies you in Uzushiagakuer, your big brother Iketsu will beat them up for you. Isn't that a good deal?" "But Kita told me to call you uncle," Konan said hesitantly. Kita said. No wonder she had called him uncle when he brought the medical ninja to the small wooden house. So that was the reason. Ikitsuya gritted his teeth and glared at Kita, who was resting nearby, cursing inwardly, that bastard. Don't listen to your uncle Kita. He was lying, Ikitsuya said with a smile. Then, Konan glanced at the candy in Ikitsua's hand and finally decided, Big brother Ikitsu. Good girl, here you go. Ikitsuya patted Konan's head. If anyone bullies you in Uzumaki, just tell your big brother. Konan nodded, took the candy, and ran to her mother's side, saying happily, Mom, have some candy. Slow down, Konan's mother smiled and crouched. After being treated by the medical ninja, her body had gradually recovered. Now, she had followed the two ninjas to the Uzu army's camp. These ninjas really were as they said, they hadn't harmed them. Instead, they had given them food, tents, clothes. Though she didn't know what these ninjas truly wanted, she could tell they meant no harm. Maybe what they said is true. Konan's mother murmured with hope. Mom, eat this. It's very sweet, Konan said, putting a piece of candy into her mother's mouth. It's fruit-flavored. Konan's mother smiled and nodded. Very sweet. This kind of life wasn't bad at all. Did you thank the uncle? I thanked Big Brother, Konan blinked her big eyes. He said to call him Big Brother. Haha. Konan's mother laughed softly and rubbed Konan's head. Are you happy, Konan? Happy, Konan nodded seriously. Everyone here is nice. They could eat their fill, and no bad people would hurt them. She was really happy. Just then, Konan's mother, Kita, walked over and said with a smile, Tomorrow, you'll be going to Uzumaki, so please prepare today. Uzumaki. Konan's mother froze for a moment, hesitating. She opened her mouth but ultimately didn't ask the question she wanted to. However, seeming to sense her worry, Kita smiled and said, Don't worry. Life in Uzumaki will be even better. No one will bully you there. Uzumaki is a nation of laws. As long as you don't break the law, nothing will happen to you. By the way, did you read the legal code I gave you a few days ago? Even if you haven't finished, it's fine. As long as you live normally, you won't break any laws. You'll get used to it over time. I read it, Konan's mother nodded. She had originally thought Uzumaki was a strict, oppressive nation without freedom. But if they could eat their fill and not be killed arbitrarily by ninja, they would willingly go. Yet, after reading the laws, was Uzumaki truly a paradise? In Uzumaki, you'll also be assigned a job, Kita said. Then, you'll be able to support yourself and Konan. He smiled at the adorable little girl sucking on her candy. And once your contribution points meet the standard, you can apply to become a citizen of Uzumaki. Children in Uzumaki receive free education, and the nation provides medical insurance. This is all true. Konan's mother's face showed disbelief. Is Uzumaki really this good? You'll see when you get there, Kita said with a smile. It might even be better than you imagine. All of this is thanks to the daimyo of Uzumaki, the great leader, Jun-sama.
Thanks for listening.